Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another 3 Point Weekly stream. We're moving on from last week where we talked about the top 10 point guards in the league. Today, we are going to be discussing the top 10 shooting guards in the league heading into next season. Of course, that debate is going to be headlined by Devin Booker versus Donovan Mitchell at the number one spot. But we'll start from the bottom and work our way up to that. And what should be an interesting battle of some of these bottom guys around number 10, number 9. A position that has a little bit less depth than the point guard rankings that we had last week, where we were talking about the likes of James Harden's and Tyrese Halliburton's or Jalen Brunson's being in the mix and around the bottom of that point guard tier. But before we do get to that number 10 pick, be sure to leave a like on the stream if you do enjoy throughout. Be sure to let us know your picks from 1 through 10 for your shooting guard rankings as we do go through as well. But without further ado, we'll start with you today, Tyrik. Who do you have at number 10 on your shooting guards list heading into next season?
Yeah, very weird list towards the back end just because we took a couple guys off. I went with Tyler Hero. I still feel like he had a very productive season last year, even in the starting role. Was a very important offensive piece for them during the regular season when their offense was pretty putrid in Miami. Would like to just continue to see him to continue to grow. I feel like he's had a good last couple of years, even with his role kind of being different as being the heat off the bench guy in the 2022 season, to where last season he was asked to start and, be a high contributing piece every single night. But, been satisfied with his game, and I feel like he's just continuing to improve subtly a little bit more as a playmaker. We'd like to see him maybe step up a little more defensively, just that effort on that side of the floor. But, I think he's solid enough to be a top 10 player just the way that the shooting guard pool is right now.
It's not a bad pick at all. I think Tyler Hero, statistically at least, is very similar to the guy that I currently have at number 10. This is where I put CJ McCollum. Some might consider him a point guard at this point. I was kind of talking about that before stream, but Basketball Reference still has him as a shooting guard, so I did put him on this list. He's kind of right there with Tyler Hero around that 20, 21 points per game. Actually, very similar efficiency between the two at around 37, 38% from three, and then in the low to mid 40s in field goal percentage. But then beyond that, I think really what just put CJ McCollum a little bit higher for me was just that he's shown more playmaking prowess, and also the fact that he led that New Orleans team, at least in the backcourt wise. So really overachieving. I think this has just been the case for years now, where they've just constantly been undermanned with, Zion and Brandon Ingram both missing time. And I think CJ McCollum's presence was very steady in just keeping them afloat in the line and to finish with a winning record last year.
It's definitely a fair pick. A far fall from grace from where he was in my top 3, top 4 last year, but nonetheless does get in your top 10. He is not my number 10 though. This is where I have Jalen Green, someone who at least his franchise have been very critical of over the course of the last 3 months, but Jalen Green has been in a very tough situation from a roster construction and just any bit of structure in Houston over the last few years. And despite that, he's continued to be a very good scorer and a very elite scorer at that. What we see from him moving forward with a bit more structure, with a bit more talent around him, we'll see. But even despite that, he's been able to show that he's going to be an elite bucket getter in this league. He's already, although lacking efficiency and lacking some decision-making props at times, he's still a very young player, and given what I've already seen just from his ability to score the ball, I'm willing to put him at number 10 on this list, and I'm definitely buying into what we see from him moving forward with a little bit more structure in Houston, hopefully with Ime Udoka at the helm.
I like that. It's kind of insane when you look at his numbers, and he averaged 22 points a game last year, which is it seemed like it was almost not really even looked at or talked about, because we just focus on how much of a mess Houston has been over the last couple of years. But I'm excited to see him with just, like you said, some structure, because he hasn't had that so far in his career. And he just had a bunch of freedom, but with some structure for him to, play under a good coach in Ime Udoka, and, some older players are going to be with him now. So hopefully, all of those bad decision making that he has been accustomed to, be a little lesser even as a young guy. But I think he's set for a massive leap this season. He's easily going to be a top 10 2 guard next year for sure. He'll probably be closer to 5 than 10, I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hesitancy with him is more so just based on the fact that he has like all the potential in the world. It really is just going to be that matter of seeing it actually translate. Where, before it's like, oh, like, yeah, he's putting up some decent points per game, but like, oh, it's not very efficient and it's not really translating in any wins. But also, I mean, like you were alluding to, the whole organization was kind of a bit of a mess. The whole roster construction from top to bottom was not very great. And so when a player, especially a young guard, is put in a situation like that, it's really hard to just score efficiently there or really figure out the NBA game to the highest ability when you're just kind of thrown to the wolves, for lack of a better term. It's definitely a rough situation to be in, but like this year with new coaching and some veterans coming in the door, like it could be a lot different. And you could see some of those, especially efficiency numbers. I don't think the points per game will jump crazy, but he could really be getting those same points on a lot less shots.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Devin Booker when he finally got a bit of a structure and some talent around him. So, not to say that Jalen Green's going to be the next Devin Booker, but there's definitely some benefits to having some good pieces around you when you are that electric scoring shooting guard. But that does bring us to number 9, Gabe. Who do you got?
All right. So at number 9, I think I had him at 8 last year, so fell a little bit more, but only one spot. This is where I have Bradley Beal. And I think notoriously all three of us here are never usually very high on Beal, but I think that like this year is really going to be make or break for him because we know what he brings to the table. We know he's still a fairly high level scorer. Like he can definitely, when he gets the ball, he can take it to the rack. He can shoot a jumper. He has a pretty well rounded scoring game. But outside of that, I'm not really too sold on much of what he does. And his availability just has not been there over the past couple of seasons. And along with that, he hasn't really translated to a whole lot of success since back when he was really playing with John Wall. And at this point, that's almost like 5 years ago. They did have a decent run there when Westbrook was in town for a little bit, made that 8 seed, and were decently exciting at times. But really, since then, he just kind of was toiling away in Washington. And so I really want to see his game translate to something greater because he has a lot of talent and a lot of skill. But I think we need to see it come together in a big way this year for him to maybe make his way back up the list. But if he comes out this year and he disappoints and he's even less than what he was before, he could really fall off this list.
It's a great breakdown, Gabe. Great breakdown. I'll talk about Bill a little later, but my 9, which is this is gonna sound so just funny because I feel like I've been very critical of this player over like the last year or so. I got Klay Thompson at 9. I got Klay Thompson at number 9. Um, Given everything from last season, I feel like he had a very productive year. I believe he led the league and made 3-pointers. He shot 40% from 3. I saw the KOT video earlier on Twitter. Just you guys arguing about Klay Thompson, and it's like he really did have a good year for somebody that this is his first season back, like full season, coming off of those 2 major injuries. And despite like his defense definitely taking a step back, I feel like in certain like matchups, like against like true wing players, he's still a pretty capable defender. Now he's not elite guarding like the ones like he was back in the mid 2010s and stuff like that, but I still think certain matchups he's a capable defender. And the 40% 3-point shooting is just like that's what you're going to get with Klay Thompson. I feel like his season kind of went under the radar just because of the playoffs was definitely a little bit of a letdown. But that regular season, especially like when guys were missing time, he was really there like night in, night out, putting up some really good numbers for them.
He's been underrated at this point. Just straight up. Like you said, you saw that TikTok earlier. Like, Klay Thompson's still a damn good player. He's not the 3-and-D, like, super both ends of the court, borderline superstar type player that he was in his prime. And superstar might be a stretch, but you know what I'm saying. But, like, still, especially on the offensive end, like, damn good player.
For sure. Definitely a guy who does not get enough credit for how he's bounced back over the past 6 to 8 months, but he is not on my list here. This is where I have Tyrese Maxey. We talked about his guy in the backcourt and James Harden last week being at the fringes of the list, and Tyrese Maxey gets on the fringe of this list for me as well. I don't doubt that he's going to continue to rise over the next couple of years, but even still only a few years into his career, continues to show that he's going to be a really dynamic offensive player. Entered the league pretty much as a very very poor 3-point shooter and has now become a very good 3-point shooter. continues to have a very good floater and can get to the rim pretty well, and has some upside as a playmaker still. So a lot to like with Tyrese Maxey. I've really liked what I've seen from him already throughout his career. So I'm staying young at the bottom of my board. Tyrese Maxey's my ninth.
Thought you would have him higher. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you would.
That's fair. That's fair. It was tough down in and around these spots, but I couldn't put him any higher quite yet. Next year, probably, especially if Harden's traded.
Yeah, if he takes over that, I guess since we're on the topic of him right now, I have Maxey at 8, so just a little bit higher, but just that efficiency I think carries such a big weight, and the fact that I've really seen him in the biggest games and in the biggest moments for them, especially, I might be a little bit biased as a Toronto fan. I've seen this man take over on some just absolutely crazy timing, and that mixed with the fact that he's shooting damn near like 43.5, close to like 44% from three. Like, dude, that's insane numbers for anybody, and especially a guy that's more of a volume scorer and not like a guy that's creating a lot of his own shots versus somebody who's just like catching the ball in the corner or takes a pass at the wing or a dribble handoff or something. Like, he's for real creating a lot of his own shots and still putting up points at that efficient of a clip. At this point, I think for him, it really is just going to be rounding out more of his game. Like you said, you saw some flashes as a playmaker, but kind of developing stuff like that a little bit more, and just probably a little bit more opportunity, because I think James Harden's out the door. That rise in volume, even if the efficiency drops a little bit, will be more of a net positive when it comes to his ranking.
Like it. My number 8, I got DeJounte Murray here. Everybody knows I've been a big DeJounte Murray guy over like the last couple of years. Put up this like similar numbers, but I feel like impact wise was a step back. Wasn't what I think a lot of people expected to see next to Trae Young. Hopefully they can figure it out with a full year under Quinn Snyder. We'll see. We'd like to see the defense like impact the game more, because that's what his calling card was early on in his career. But I feel like there was a lot of nights where he was still just doing his thing offensively, with or without Trae Young. But we'd just like to see that dynamic work out a little better than what it did last season. But I still think he had a very productive season, put up pretty similar numbers to the All-Star year. So, I got him here at number 8.
Yeah, I'm right there with you for exactly the same reasons. I got DeJounte here too. And like you said, hopefully we just see a little bit more of a better fit between him and Trae this upcoming season, and maybe when Snyder can work something out over the offseason. But even just individually, like you say, if that defense can improve a bit more, that can make a better case for him moving into next year on this list. But still a damn good shooting guard, making the adjustment to shooting guard last year as well, may we note. So kudos to him for staying in this conversation, but definitely more to see from DeJounte. I think we definitely haven't seen the best that we possibly could have seen from him in an Atlanta Hawks jersey.
Yeah, I guess it just with the theme of it so far, I'll keep going because I have DeJounte at 7. So next pickup, I got him a little bit higher. Now I'm kind of reaching that, man, did I forget somebody type territory? Because this is like 2 picks in a row where I'm like, wait, I got like somebody one spot higher than you guys might. So I guess we'll see how that shakes out. Maybe I made a blunder here, but as far as DeJounte Murray goes, I think my only thing to really add on to what you guys said is like when it comes to his personal ranking, I see the slight drop in production last season. I don't know where Reek went, but
it's Reek's week for the technical difficulties. That's how you know, Justin, that it is live. That is how you know. It is indeed live. Technical difficulties are real.
Bro, technical difficulties weekly, bro. It never
fails. I hit a button. I hit a button. I seen the login. I was thinking to connect my YouTube so I can comment. That's on me. It's already connected. My bad about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, when it comes to DeJounte, so looking at like his individual ranking, I didn't want to penalize him too much because yes, there was a slight statistical drop, but I feel like it's less about him as a talent and him getting worse as a player and just them really having to figure out this scheme and the optimal way to play the two guards together in Atlanta. Like, if last year this same DeJounte Murray was just in a San Antonio uniform, he could probably replicate that 8 rebound, that 9 assists that he was getting up versus like 6 and 6 this year. And so, like, when I'm thinking of like how good is DeJounte Murray still, I don't really think he regressed at all. So I just don't want to hold it against him that he was put in a bad situation. And I think with the new coaching, like he could really turn it around this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. It seemed like last year, and this was mainly like before Quinn Snyder, it seemed like it was like a lot of like your turn, my turn between him and Trae Young offensively. And I would just like to see them like just flow off of each other a little more, because that's how great backcourts always play. It's not always just your turn, my turn. It's we're able to play off of each other more than just, you know, you take a possession being the lead guy, I'll take a possession. So I would just like to see that. That might be even more of a Trae Young thing than DeJounte. But I think if Trae Young could unlock some off ball, you know, potential, then that could definitely just help DeJounte be who he is as a basketball player.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely multiple pieces that'll have to improve and work together to help DeJounte out. But moving on to my number 7, I'm going to talk about a guy who does have to figure out how to play on the ball better this year, because it's the new Phoenix Suns point guard, and that's Bradley Beal. No way I could have him any higher on this list for all the reasons you mentioned earlier, Gabe, the availability, the lack of production the last few years. But I've still seen enough in recent years in Bradley Beal to still believe in his ability to be a high-end scorer. And he's not old enough yet for me to want to completely buy into how poor he's been at times the last couple of years. It also just looked like he didn't care as much last year at times in Washington, and he was happy to just let Kuzma do his thing, let Porzingis do his thing, and at times be a little bit more of a facilitator, which probably isn't going to be the worst thing in the world for him now coming into a situation in Phoenix where he is at least on paper the point guard and is going to be playing next to KD and Devin Booker. So I'm still willing to buy into him a little bit to have a fairly successful season in Phoenix. Is he going to be filling up the box score in terms of his scoring? Unlikely when he's playing next to those two guys, but can he be a little bit more productive? Can he be a better defender like he was earlier in his career? Not that he was elite earlier, but he was much better than he has been throughout the last 4 to 5 years of his career. So maybe he can tap into that a bit more, and that can raise his value a bit. But number 7 for Bradley Beal, point guard Bradley Beal now, as far as on paper, but he's still very much on the shooting guard list until he proves he's actually a point guard.
Makes me feel so much better. Because, bro, I really thought I forgot something. I'm like, did he just not have Beal on the list? But all right, this should even it back out.
Yeah, I think I did forget somebody, and I see who I forgot.
Yeah, I think you might be a guy off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to move some guys down. To be honest. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so I'm gonna bump Hero off the list. So Clay 10, DeJounte 8, or DeJounte 9. And then Beal would be 8 for me, so that's my 8 right there. And then my 7 would be Tyrese Maxey, who we talked about earlier. So
okay,
I forgot somebody.
A lot of the things we don't have a somebody's off one guy's list and number 6 on another guy's list this week. Don't know what that could have been last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if any other position other than point guard could be able to do that. Although the center position could potentially throw some wrenches into things this year. So
yeah, it's
I
about
won't count it out yet.
Then 5 through 15 are all like the same tier guy.
Yeah, the center position definitely could be interesting. That does bring us to the top 6 for our shooting guards. So I'll start with you, Gabe. Who do you got at number 6?
All right. So hopefully this doesn't come as some wild out there take, because this is the last guy who I'm like, oh, that could be a little bit lower on to me. But at number 6, I got Desmond Bane. I don't know if that's a crazy take. I don't know where you guys have him at. But he might, out of the 10 guys on this list, he's probably like the second best defender here outside of DeJounte. And being a little bit bigger as like a shooting guard, wing type guy, more so as DeJounte Murray is like play shooting guard as well, but more from the point guard end. It's like you can have an argument that there's a little bit more there, but that's just picking straws at that point. But that kind of raises his stock on this list a lot, providing something that not a lot of guys on this list do. And then last year, a lot of this really comes from what he was doing early in this season, where I really thought he was on an all-star type trajectory, really put up great stats. I think he was up to like 24, 25 points per game for a little bit and doing so very efficiently. And then he got that injury, and that really knocked him down a peg. But when he came back, he was still pretty good. I think it's like Memphis was just rolling, and, there's a lot of mouths to feed there. You still had Ja, of course, Jaren. You had Dylan Brooks still taking a lot of shots. So coming back in after playing that well at the beginning, I can see why the production would drop a bit. But overall, a very impressive season. And I think especially this year, he's going to come out of the gates just as strong because realistically, he's their number one scoring option. Dylan Brooks is out of town. John Morant's not going to be there the first 25 games. And I've seen a lot that I like from Jaren Jackson on the offensive end, but it's not like he's going to be some sort of primary initiator. A guy like Desmond Bane who can have the ball in his hands a lot more, taking the ball up the court probably more often, and a lot of things of that nature. I just think his production will continue to jump, and I think he'll maintain a lot of that efficiency as well. So that mixed with his two-way ability that not a lot of guys here are providing, I got him at 6.
Yeah, for everything you just said, I got him at 6 too. I mean, I almost forgot, like, he did have that big start to last season where he was putting up all all-star numbers. And who knows, if he didn't have that injury, that could have continued. But either way, I just love seeing the jump in his game as an on-ball guy, like being able to create for himself, pick and roll situations. I love his decision-making. I remember there was a game I think it was against the Clippers. John Morant wasn't playing, and he was like down the stretch, heavy pick and roll, and he was getting buckets. I think he had like 30 in that game. Like, that's something that I didn't expect him to grow into as an NBA player, just like from watching him in college and all the pre-draft stuff. But, his game continues to improve, and he's going to have a big opportunity, like you said, Gabe, to start this season to once again have like an all-star type of start, and hopefully that can continue for him all the way through.
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 5 next year, but for this year, he's at number 6 for me. It will always pain me that Malachi Flynn was picked a pick before him, but Memphis have got a gem in him, and he will continue to be one of the best shooting guards in the league moving forward.
We traded the pick that was Desmond Bane, so we feel your pain, man. It felt.
Man, yeah, that's tough, especially as a shooting guard type guy for a team who has no guards. Not as bad as if we passed up on a star point guard, but it's rough. Very rough. Top 5 time though, boys. Top 5 time. Already halfway through the list. This one's going quick. There's not a lot of real contrary stuff. I think we got really like our 6 through 8 was kind of like the same couple guys. Really 6 through 9. We just had some different 10s with like Clay, CJ. I forget, Devin. Who was your 10? Jalen Green. That's right. So yeah, a couple different guys just have that very fringe spot, but a lot of the same names here, and I'm pretty confident we might all have the same number 5 as well.
There's no debate. There's no debate between the first half of the list because nobody has something crazy like Tyrese Halliburton.
That was not even crazy, bro. It was just a
Bro had chat in a frenzy last week.
Bro, I kid you not. I had the best argument possible. And you guys said, that's a great argument. That's a phenomenal argument. But he's just not.
You made your case. You made your case. I don't agree, but I mean, you made a compelling case.
Bro,
it was a strong case.
But
5, I got Zach LaVine. I feel like he had a really good year last season, under the radar. His efficiency, always a pretty efficient player offensively, man. I mean, he was back up to around 25 points per game. For somebody who, like, there were talks like, oh, he's falling off. He bounced back, like, mid-season and really finished off the season strong. Obviously, the Bulls going through everything that they're going through with just injuries and just a roster that's not really that talented to where we wish that they could just blow it up. But, that's not really the case for them. I feel like he was one of the bright spots on that team that got better as the season went on.
Yeah, he's just underrated at this point, I think. Straight up, like, I was making this list, and I was looking at all the guys on here, and I'm like, dang, like, Zach LaVine, for real, is still a top 5 shooting guard. Because when I looked at him versus everybody below him, I was like, Zach LaVine is definitely better than any other shooting guard that is not in that top 4 above him. It's just, I think of all the guys on this list, he's kind of the last guy that is a certified 1 scorer on any like good or competitive team, period. And while that may manifest as a 1B in this situation with DeMar, we've seen LaVine for the years before DeMar was there. They weren't any great team by any stretch, but like he would still put up some real solid numbers and on decent efficiency too, getting towards like that 25 points per game type guy. And the fact that he's able to fit with a guy like DeMar, bring Vucevic into the team, and he's still able to just play his game the same way, still put up those efficient numbers. It shows that he really is that guy. And people really just don't talk about it because the Bulls were in kind of a heavy amount of turmoil last season.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention the fact that he's also improved significantly on the defensive end the last couple of years as well. And not to say that he's an elite defender, but he's gone from being regularly quite poor on that end to being at least an average defender more often than not. So throw that in with his high-level scoring, his efficient scoring. That's exactly why I got him at number 5 as well. The top 4 in a class of their own compared to the rest of this shooting guard class, but Zach LaVine definitely deserves to be a top 5 shooting guard still, at least for one more year. Desmond Bane might be on his tail next year, but for at least this year, Zach LaVine's number 5.
Be more comfortable as a Phoenix Sun fan, like if Zach LaVine was the guy instead of Bradley Beal. Just saying.
I mean, I would have. I mean, considering all 3 of us have Zach LaVine higher on this list, and he's younger, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, yeah, Desmond Bane could make a decent little leap next year, but I think the guy who might have the highest room to climb on the list might be Maxey, especially because I think Devin, it was you who had him at like 9, right?
Yeah, he's definitely climbing.
Assuming James Harden, like if it's something like when he was in Houston, where it was like, oh, he played a couple games there, then he got like shipped out pretty soon into the season, and Tyrese Maxey has most of the season to really lead that backcourt. I could see him being the highest climber.
For sure, I would not be shocked to see that. He could climb. Jalen Green could climb. I think those are probably 2 big climbers. Hell, maybe Anthony Simons has a big year and he climbs up the list.
My pick was gonna be Jalen Green. I kind of said it earlier, but like, even if like 10 is a good spot for Jalen Green, like how Devin had him, I think he could climb up to like 6, and I think that's a pretty huge jump, to be honest.
6 would be a huge jump. Him, like, if he ended next year better than guys like DeJounte, better than guys like a Desmond Bane who's at 6 right now, or even better than Zach LaVine, I mean that would be huge for Houston. Just as a franchise to have like a guy just take that much of a leap in one season. That's, I hate to say it because he was a top level pick, but that's damn near a most improved player type campaign. If he goes to where he's at now, like the 6th best shooting guard in basketball.
Yeah, I'm not even looking for him to jump to like 27 points a game or anything. I just want to like, if he jumps to like 24, but his efficiency climbs up, his shot selection is a lot more improved. Maybe he's not like a 5-6 assists a game guy, but he's more of an efficient playmaker, or at least he's creating open shots for people and just compete defensively. That's all I want to see from Jalen Green next season. I think if he does all that, because his talent is so high, like it's going to be tough to have him much lower than like a 6 or a 7 in a top 10 shooting guards list.
Yeah, especially if Houston can get to at least like mid-30s and wins next year, I think it'll almost make him undeniable as a guy who could be seeing at least a spot on this list consistently and climbing towards that middle section.
Sure. I think as much as some Rockets fans might have higher expectations, if they can get mid-30s wins next year, I think something's going right and they're well on track. But there's a lot of other variables in Houston, so we'll see how that one goes as we've more than well talked about this summer. But I'll move us on to number 4 here. This is where I have Kyrie Irving, someone who we've made sure to put on our shooting guard list this year and not on our point guard list, given the fact he has been a shooting guard for the last few years, being in Brooklyn and now, of course, being next to Luka in Dallas. And despite all the controversy around Kyrie over the last few years, he has still continued to be a very high-level scorer and a very efficient scorer at that, something that he still just doesn't seem to get enough credit for how efficient he is, especially for the difficulty of shots he takes at times, whether it be from 3, whether it be in the mid-range, whether it be his good finishing around the rim. He takes and makes a lot of difficult shots. So we'll see how the fit goes in Dallas, how well him and Luka play together. Evidently, it did not go well to end last year, but that wasn't necessarily because Kyrie played bad in any stretch. Obviously, he would have hoped to play better, as would have Luka, but the surrounding pieces were not great. Kyrie still had a very good season, has continued to be very good over the last few years when he has been available, and he was relatively available last year. If that can continue into next year, Dallas should be able to have a better season, and Kyrie should be able to have a better season alongside it. Definitely better than Zach LaVine, as great of a scorer as he is, has a bit more playmaking chops, and is just a better offensive player, as great as LaVine is. He just has a little bit more scoring touch, especially when it comes to crafty finishes around the rim, where LaVine is a bit more of an athlete at that standpoint. Kyrie has a lot more this good touch around the rim, crafty finishing ability that he has that very few guys ever will have in this league. So Kyrie at number 4 for me. There's a clear top 3 at the shooting guard position for me at this point, but Kyrie is indeed at number 4.
Yeah, if anybody makes an argument for Kyrie to be top 3, I wouldn't be opposed to it because, like you said, for somebody to be, I have him at 4 as well, but for somebody to be as efficient as he is, as somebody that's like 6'2" on a good day, maybe, like, takes like you said, the difficulty of shots that he takes. It's not just in the paint, it's mid ranges, it's post fade, it's off the catch, off the move, 3-pointers. Like, it's a variety of shots that he takes. And I feel like even like as a playmaker, I feel like he's improved in that aspect, especially like when Luka was out 4 points last season. I feel like he really stepped up and really prioritized being a passer. There's also saw that in Brooklyn a little bit, like towards the end of that saga. I feel like even though he's not like an all-world defender, I feel like he's a better defender than what he maybe gets credit for. I feel like he competes at the end of the floor. Just somebody that Gabe's been saying it all episode. I think Kyrie is somebody that's becoming underrated. I think he's somebody that's becoming underrated. But yeah, he's my 4. If anybody in the world has an argument for Kyrie to be a top 3 shooting guard, I'm not opposed to it at all because he was incredible last season and he's going to continue to be incredible.
Dude, that's why I think this list was so fun to make, is because just looking at all the different guys on this list, I do feel like so many of them became underrated. And Kyrie's no exception there. He's still one of the best scorers in the world. Not at his position, not among guards. He's still one of the best scorers in the world. What he can do at all 3 levels, from his shooting to his finishing ability to his mid-range game to his post game as a guard, to the fact that he still has one of the best handles in the history of basketball to break down a defender one-on-one, and the fact that he's on a shooting guard list now, but he played point guard for so long that he has that playmaking ability to go with that. And he's even getting better than he's ever been from the playmaking side of the ball, in my opinion. I mean, this past year he averaged a career low in turnovers, and that is with no deduction in volume of what he's doing. He's still very much a lead option on a team. And in Dallas last year, he got below 2 turnovers per game for the first time. So the stretch that he had last year just in protecting the ball while still being able to make a great amount of his shots, like just his game at this point, because of the off-the-court stuff, because of the trade scenarios, because of the way things worked out in Boston and then how they worked out in Brooklyn, like people have become more down on Kyrie over the years. But we can't sit here and act like when he gets on the court, this man is not incredible. It's really just their team construction last year. Like, to me, Dallas did not fall out of the playoffs because of Kyrie. Did they fall out of the playoffs because they made the Kyrie trade? Yes, but it's just because they had to give up so much that team defense was terrible. And that shouldn't be something you really rely on Kyrie for, especially looking at this top 10 list. There's like 2 guys on here. I said it earlier. There's like 2 guys on this whole list that are plus defenders. So I'm not really relying on him for that. But to know that he can give you that much on the offensive side of the ball, he doesn't really need anybody else to be effective. He can be effective no matter who's out there. So as long as Dallas's roster can play some defense around him and around Luka, they're going to be real good this year.
Great points. Love to see the Kyrie praise. Love to see it. Top 3, though. I feel like we'll have the same top 3 in the same exact order, to be honest. Unless somebody got a...
Although Garrett's probably going to throw a wrench in that, but...
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering where Garrett was, man. He's usually the one that carries the chat for the most part, man. Glad to see my guy made it. I'll go first, though. I got Anthony Edwards at number 3. My guy. I love seeing how he's performing with Team USA, but even last season, it was pretty much the one option all year long, which is what we wanted to see after their first playoff run at the end of 2022. He continues to ascend in the playoffs. I love his accountability of himself as a young player. Like, when he was asked if he was surprised he didn't make the All-Star game, he's like, no. He was like, I was trash at the beginning of the season. Like, I got to be better all the way through. So I'm excited to see him this next full season. I feel like his confidence is going to be even higher after this Team USA run in the FIBA World Cup, that we're going to see him on both ends of the floor really compete and be that alpha, be that guy that, me and Devin thought he could be a dark horse MVP last season. I'm excited, man, and it's going to continue to improve. Still such a young guy, too. Like, it's crazy. This is about to be, like, year 4 for him, I think. Like, still super young, bro. It's insane.
Yeah, I think he just turned 22. Just to check that, like that's crazy.
Yeah, young buck that is a dog.
Yeah, and like as good as he's been, it's still so evident that there's still so much room for improvement, which is what's so exciting as well. I mean, there's still leaps and bounds he can make at times as a perimeter shooter in terms of consistency. There's leaps and bounds he can make, especially on the defensive end. There's improvements he can make as a playmaker, and he's shown that he has some potential upside there. Like, there's still lots of things that we've seen flashes of that if he really puts the pieces together, there's still room for him to grow in a significant manner. And that's in year 4 for a guy who we're already talking about as a top 3 shooting guard, a guy who's probably top 15 to top 20 in lots of discussions. Like, he's already a very talented player. And like you mentioned, Tyrik, and I'm very glad that you did, this guy is already such a good playoff riser. Already should arguably in conversations about being one of the best playoff risers in the league, despite only having a couple of series to his name. But he's consistently been such a good playoff performer. Even last year in the postseason where he was struggling to shoot from the perimeter because of that shoulder injury, he still found a way to get it done night in, night out. It was like over 27 points or 28 points a night he averaged in that series. Just ridiculous contribution you continue to get from him, and his defense seems to always hit another level in the postseason as well. It's not just those highlight reel plays that you'll see every once in a while with him getting a block at the rim. It's possession on possession stuff where he can be a good perimeter defender as well. Continuing to lock into that. I mean, I know there's some good talent ahead of him and Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, but honestly, as soon as next year, depending on how his development goes, he has a real shot at being the best shooting guard in the league. And like you say, starting to enter those dark horse MVP conversations as long as Minnesota can start to rise up the conference standings a little bit, because he really has that type of talent, and already as it is, has to be number 3 on my shooting guard list for already just how talented he is at such a young age.
Shoot, you took it a step further than I did. I was just about to say, I think by next year he could be like a clear number 2. But the more I think about it, like Devin Booker's spot for me, I guess, spoiler alert, I think we're all going to have him there. But that number 1 spot, bro, I don't think that's too unattainable. Like, of like the top guys at each position, it's not like we're talking about, he has to be better than like Luka and Curry next year. He has to be better than Jokic or Embiid next year. Like, shooting guard, he could for real be the best at that position in a year's time, because one of the first things I have written down for Anthony Edwards is just he is for real teetering on just this superstardom. Might almost be there to some people, but I think we're just probably one little step away, and I think this season will be that step. The stuff he's shown just over his short career so far, like, Minnesota for real has a special player over there. There's not even too much you have to say. Just his explosiveness, honestly, his leadership, his ability to rise to the occasion, what he's done and just energizing that franchise has been nothing short of spectacular throughout the past 3 years.
He's kind of like in between how like Tatum and Luka have been like at their early points in their career, where like, you know, Tatum, we wanted to put him like as that rising superstar, but he wasn't quite there yet. And then Luka by year 2 is like, oh, this dude's a superstar already. Like, he's that good. And it's like right in the middle, and he's going to take that jump next season to where it's like, no, this guy's actually a superstar. And I'm excited to see it. Like Devin said, hopefully Minnesota can just be more competitive than what they were throughout the course of last season. Hopefully they can figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. Just to address chat here for a second here, with regards to Jaylen Brown, he hasn't been discussed today. That's not because he's not on the list. He will be discussed next week. He will be a small forward for us this year, given the fact that he did play in a lot of 2-guard lineups this year with him at the 3 and Jason Tatum at the 4. So Jaylen Brown will indeed be on our small forwards list next year. But then moving on to Donovan Mitchell, Garrett, what are we seeing from Spida next year? What are we seeing?
Real quick, I do want to address Jaylen Brown though while we're talking about it, because I think now's a good time. I think if I was putting Jaylen Brown on this list, I would have Jaylen Brown at 4. I think his defensive ability would put him just right above Kyrie, even though Kyrie's obviously the better offensive player. It's just like, I don't know, Kyrie's not a number 1 guy on like a championship team. He can be a damn good 2 on a championship team. I think Jaylen Brown's that same level. But I think what Jaylen Brown does, being a number 2, having that two-way ability is just a little bit more important. So I'd probably take that, and just his availability is a bit more consistent as well. We know Kyrie is kind of volatile and a bit all over the place at times. So I'll take what Jaylen Brown gives me, even if there were some flaws in his game that were very heavily pointed out this postseason. But I do think Anthony Edwards at this point is the better player and will continue to just get even better. And these top 2 guys are obviously the top 2 guys right now.
I think I'll have JB at 3, but Anthony Edwards will be passing him up after this season. I think that's where I would be at.
That's definitely
that's Celtics bias, man.
It might be. It honestly might be, but I'm probably the harshest Celtics fan out there. At the same time, I didn't have Tatum 1 last year, Gabe.
That is true. You did not have Tatum 1.
I had Tatum 1 last year, and I was right.
And I'm pretty sure I had JB higher than you last year as well. So definitely not the most biased Celtics fan around. That is for sure.
Yeah, I think I had JB at 3 because you had Donovan extremely low.
6, I think.
Dude, he had Donovan at 6, bro. That was crazy. I don't know if Garrett probably wasn't in chat for that episode last year. But
Probably not.
Wait, I think we were streaming at that point last year.
I was about to say we weren't streaming. We didn't stream till the trade deadline because we started streaming on accident. Yeah. But dude, if we had a chat for that, dude, that shit would have had chat rocking way more than my Halliburton placement. I'll tell you that. Who didn't you have CJ McCollum above him last year?
Yeah, comfortably. I think I'm at him at 4. I think I had him at 4, if not even higher, and I had Donovan Mitchell at 6.
McCollum was real good, but god damn, that was a crazy take. Mitchell's clearly 2 right now, though. To me, I think he's just so explosive of a scorer with Cleveland this last season. Was obviously the best player on a team that was very good, and for a team that had 2 All-Stars the year prior in Garland and Allen, not top of the top level, all NBA type guys, but 2 All-Star players. Donovan Mitchell came into town and clearly established himself as the guy around there, at least for the time being, until we might see Evan Mobley take a step and maybe become the top guy there in the future. But a guy who had a 70-point game last year, a guy who carried that offense for stretches during the regular season when Garland or other guys missed time. And just overall, they're rock to lean on as they carry themselves to a 4-seed performance in a pretty top-heavy East. So very good things from him last year. I think Devin Booker might just be a little bit better, a little bit more well-rounded, a little bit deeper of a bag, bit better of a shooter. It's very close for both of them at almost all aspects of the game. Booker also being a little bit bigger of a player. So while neither of them are really good defenders, I think Booker does have the edge there. So across the board, those are the top 2, and it really isn't that far off. But Donovan Mitchell had a great season last season. It's going to really be hard to surpass that. The only thing that's really going to surpass it at this point that could really improve his stock, which is hard to do when you're the second best of your position in the league, would be to have a good playoff performance as well, because we know the Cleveland Cavaliers did not do well there last season. So if he were able to at least replicate most of what he did last regular season and then have a good playoff performance, it'd really bump him up, because we know he's risen in the playoffs before, but last year was not one of those times.
Yeah, it's tough for me to hold the playoffs so much against Donovan, because everybody on the Cavs played bad, but you would want somebody that has playoff experience and has had big time moments in playoffs to be better than what he was. But he was pretty bad in that series. You can't really, sugarcoat that anymore. He was bad in that series. But that being said, I feel like last season he was obviously amazing, career year. Went from somebody that had never made All-NBA to being, I think, All-NBA second team. Had a real case for first team if the cards was right there. But he improved to me in a lot of areas. I feel like we saw him compete a little more defensively than we have seen in the previous few years, and that's probably just because new situation. We know the guy has put in effort defensively before. When he was in college, he was known as a defensive player, so it was good to see that effort come back around. I feel like there was moments as a playmaker, he was better. There were a lot of games where he was hitting the boards. He was getting 8-9 rebounds on some nights. I love seeing just the rejuvenation in his game. And I'm with Gabe though. It's just Devin Booker's just better. Like, even though Donovan Mitchell elevated, Devin Booker elevated the hell out of his game too. There were moments last season before he got hurt around midseason where the Suns were just being absolutely carried by Devin Booker, like night in, night out. Gabe had this man as like the MVP front runner, like, because every single night this man had to put up like 35, 40 points, 50 points, 60 points for them to win games. And that was with Mikal Bridges there. That was with Chris Paul still there. Like, D-Book just, his game continues to rise too. But I agree with y'all. Like, these two are like, I think these two are in a tier of their own for right now. And, you know, it's hard for me to see a world where I would pick Donovan Mitchell over Devin Booker currently. But if that man continues to elevate his game too, they're going to be fighting for the top spot again next year.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on how well Booker was very much impacting winning for the Suns early on in the season. I mean, it was evident night in, night out that he was having such an impact, and then it was even more evident when Chris Paul was trying to run the show. I mean, when they couldn't even beat my Raptors, that's when you know things are not looking great for a team that's trying to win a title. But given we had
on the Raptors, bro, come on, that wasn't even that was unnecessary.
Given Koloko did have to hit a 3 to win that game, but still we didn't win it. But nonetheless, the biggest thing for me with Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell right now is, like, we've talked about Donovan Mitchell having a poor postseason run last year and having good postseason performances in the past. He's 2 years in a row now for me is the problem. Is he's got 2 years, 2 series back-to-back where he's just been poor in the postseason. And I still want to give him some amount of credit for how good he looked in the postseason early on in his career. But eventually there's only so much credit I can give him for that compared to Devin Booker, where he just had such a good run of games last year where he was scoring at a high rate at absurd efficiency as well on that Suns team. Given he was next to KD, given he was next to CP, given he was next to DA, there was a lot of guys around him that opposing defenses did have to respect. But that does not mean that he was not given a lot of significant attention from opposing defenses. He was still very much getting very good defenders on him. He was getting blitzes. He was getting double teams at times. And this guy was still just continuing to do it night in, night out. Again, at such absurd efficiency. So when I compare that to what I got from Donovan Mitchell, who certainly was in a much worse situation in the postseason when he regards to the talent on that team, with regards to the spacing on that team, which obviously was very horrid for the majority of that series, with Okoro not hitting shots, Mobley not being good, Jarrett Allen not being good, and not being a shooter. It was rough, no doubt about it. But if I'm talking about a guy being the best guy at his position, you should be able to get past that. And we talked about this the other night to an extent as well, when Jay was saying that Josh Hart was such a good defender that it can null that performance out for Donovan Mitchell, and we should just give him a bit of a pass. But if you're that good, Josh Hart should not null your impact. He just shouldn't. All the credit in the world to Josh Hart. Josh Hart is not that dude defensively. There's very few dudes in the league that should be able to null the offensive impact of Donovan Mitchell. Josh Hart is not one of them. So can Donovan Mitchell work his way up there just like Anthony Edwards can? There's no doubt about it. He is still an elite offensive talent. And like you alluded to, Garrett, and like you had him picked as last year, Gabe, I believe, he had an argument to be All-NBA first team last year. There's no doubt about that. He had a great regular season. But in the complete body of work, when I have to include the postseason, Devin Booker wins it out for me. I needed at least one good playoff series from Donovan Mitchell for him to get back in that conversation.
No, that was a really good point you made, where it's like, that's really what separates the goods from the greats is the great players. Bro, it does not matter who is defending you. You are going to be able to perform. And not saying that every player performs to their highest ability 100% of the time, because we've seen some of the greatest players of all time come up incredibly short in big moments. But just overall, like, if you're the best player at your position in the league, yeah, Josh Hart might be a good defender, but that shouldn't really lower you down to a below 30% three-point shooter to low 40s from the field on super high volume. Like, things were not looking good for him in that postseason run. And I don't feel like I've seen as many collapses from Devin Booker. Now, the closeout games, that might be one thing, but in every other playoff game, he is usually on it no matter who is guarding him. This is a guy who not too long ago, like, you've seen drop like 50 in closeout games, who can elevate to get you 35 to 40 points a night. Like, he's just to me, that guy in any situation.
Yeah, I can't defend them imploding against Dallas. That's on Devin Booker too. But like I said about Donovan Mitchell, like I didn't want to hold this year's playoffs against him because everybody on Cleveland was bad. Same thing for that Game 7. Nobody in Phoenix played good. So I can't hold that too much against him, like how I can't hold it too much against Donovan Mitchell. Now, I do agree with Devin, though. Like, that is a couple playoffs in a row for Donovan Mitchell, a couple playoff series in a row where he was not good. So this next coming season, because we know they're going to be a playoff team in Cleveland, we got to see him get back to form, man. Get back to how he was his first few years in the league. We know he can do it, but, it seems like since that Clippers series, we ain't really seen that from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have even been easier last year to play better in a playoff situation because, Utah had offensive talent, but less in the shot creating aspect and more of Joe Ingles could run his pick and roll with Gobert, which was effective, and they had some shooters out there. But to me, the offensive help that Utah had was not as good as having Darius Garland next to you. What he does as a playmaker, which should make getting quality shots easier for you as the shooting guard next to him. I don't know. I feel like it should have been a little easier than it was in Utah.
If Darius Garland played better, but he was also extremely, extremely bad. Besides maybe I think Game 4, I think Darius Garland might have been one of the worst players on the floor. He was actually really awful in that series, man.
Yeah.
He was bad.
Yeah,
he was having games where he was
the
shooting 2 for 15. He was terrible.
That's
my guy.
You got two bigs in the paint that are not really stretching the floor that much, either of them, and even in the paint, they're not playing well at all. So
yeah, that definitely didn't help. The other thing too is as much as there wasn't a ton of shot creation in Utah, there's definitely, I don't want to say that they're underappreciated, but there's definitely a bit of a misconstruing of how Utah's offense was built, and that yes, Donovan Mitchell did do a lot of the creation, but once Mike Conley was there, he also did a bit of the creation, at least from a playmaking standpoint. And at least the pieces fit well. They had a lot of shooting. They had a lot of spacing. There was a lot more room to operate for a guy like Donovan Mitchell, especially in the postseason where those types of guys will get keyed in on if you have an Isaac Okoro, an Evan Mobley, and a Jared Allen all on the court at the same time for significant minutes, where you're just not going to care about those dudes, and you're going to key in on a Donovan Mitchell. You're going to key in on a Darius Garland. So that compared to a situation where if you leave Bogdanovich, he's going to hit him. Royce O'Neal's not a great shooter, but if you leave him on an island, he's going to hit him. And evidently Rudy Gobert ain't hitting threes, but he's still a good enough lob threat that you at least have to respect him in the paint. Not to mention a few guys they have coming off their bench that could give you something. Like Conley can still hit some shots at time or can break you down off the dribble. So there's a lot more options there for at least keeping some spacing and keeping the defense honest, or that just didn't exist in Cleveland because their best third option per se to keep the defense honest was Karis LeVert. And he's notoriously been inconsistent in postseason opportunities. So it's just really lacking in an environment that allows Donovan Mitchell to succeed comparatively to Utah with those pieces around him. But if Darius Garland can be a good second option, they'll definitely have a little bit more help now with Max Strus with Georges Niang in. At least they have some guys out there where now hopefully they can get some of those guys to play up to their level and hit those shots so Mitchell has some room to operate, because even though I am going to knock him a little bit for that performance in the postseason last year, it was a really tough environment to succeed in.
Yeah, I'll give benefit of the doubt there. Since it was year one in Cleveland, now kind of building that roster a little bit more for Donovan Mitchell being your lead player, hopefully is better this year because, last year they traded for him and he kind of came into what they already had and had to adjust to getting there. And that was that core, even without Donovan Mitchell. Those guys didn't make the playoffs the year before. They fell out right at the end of the season, had some injury problems. So for pretty much everybody except Donovan Mitchell that was a part of that core, it was their first playoff series. And so all around, it was kind of a new experience for everyone. So I'll give them benefit of the doubt for now. Going into year two, they need to look a little bit better. Now, if that's a hard-fought Game 7 loss, if they were somehow ended up being a 5 seed and the 4 seed was Boston or something, right? Or they're a 6 seed and 3 seeds, somehow like Milwaukee's in that spot. Like there's some teams who if they face in the first round and they like lose in the first round, but it's competitive, I'm like, okay, like that's the better team, right? But as long as they look more competitive, or if they rematch against the Knicks, I'm sorry, they need to get that win back because I think while the Knicks were a very quality team and built very well to play together, I think the Cavaliers were more talented and they really fumbled that opportunity.
Yeah, it's all the like things that came true out of their playoff performance is all the questions that we had when we were talking about the playoffs in our prediction show. I believe Garrett was a guest on that episode. Like we all had questions about like how Darius Garland is going to perform. How's it going to be playing with 2 to 3 non-shooters on the court? That all came to fruition. It's just the one variable that we were unsure of. And Devin might have actually pointed this out was Donovan Mitchell struggling like how he did the year before. It kind of carried over into that next series too. But like you said, Gabe, like next season, as long as they continue to improve, they just need to handle business in the regular season so they don't have to face a team that is maybe on par with them or better in that first round.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument even next year, especially depending on what goes on in Philly, that they could get a top 3 seed next year. So they need to be working towards that because I think not that there's bad teams below the top 4 to 5 seeds in the East, but I think there's definitely going to be a bit of a division between the Celtics, the Bucks, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Heat if they get Dame, and then whoever else ends up being 6. It's probably a step below that, or it's probably a much younger or more inexperienced team compared to what you'd be dealing with otherwise. So if they can deal with like the Magic or the Pacers or even the Raptors or the Bulls, if they have a good bounce back year, some team like that, I'm sure they'd be much more confident on their chances dealing with that type of team than they would be a team with some type of experience like the Knicks, like the Heat, someone like that again that they can beat, but definitely would be a little bit more of a challenge to say the least.
Might be time to slide Evan Mobley to the 5, man. I don't know. You might have to ship Jared Allen out of town to reach this team's potential. I'm just saying, having those Twin Towers down there, if now there's a floor spacer, I don't know long term, like, yeah, they might be able to take care of one of those teams next year. But I think for them to really elevate themselves and become a true contender, I don't know if you can be out there with 2 non-shooters. So either one of them guys is going to have to learn how to shoot, which I don't see them getting to that high of a level to where defenders actually have to respect it that much. I don't really see them getting there. So just hear me out. I think Jared Allen's days on the team might be numbered. I think at this point, all it's going to take is Evan Mobley beefing himself up and going into his body enough to really be able to handle the physicality of being a full-time center. And once he gets there and can really be that main strong side guy, I think Jared Allen's out of there, man. I think it's over.
Yeah, that's what you would hope, man. I mean, we've had this discussion like a few times over the last, almost 2 years of us doing this podcast. So, yes, that's the ultimate goal. You want to see Mobley be able to be the full-time 5. But I would say don't rush it. Don't rush that timeline because, he just might not be ready like within the next year physically because he's still, even though he's been in the league a couple of years, still pretty frail, man. He got to grow into that grown man body. We've seen like guys like Kevin Garnett, Anthony Davis, even like Jaren Jackson took him a few years to really beef up and be able to like defend 5s better. That's another guy that we'd probably want to see be a full-time 5 more eventually. Like it might just take time, so definitely don't rush it. Don't just rush trading Jared Allen because you lost one playoff series. Now this year's similar, like you get obliterated in the first round, then you might have to look to making that move. But if you have a good year, competitive, maybe you win a playoff series, definitely don't rush it unless like something's on the table that's just too good to pass up. But I trust Cleveland, man. That front office, Kobe Allman, since he's been there, he's done a really good job getting this team ready from, the first time LeBron left, they were bad until he came back. This time they were bad like a couple years, like maybe 2-3 seasons, but now they're back to being pretty competitive and a team that we look at that should always be in contention for a top 4 seed with this current roster.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario because, like you say, I don't think you can rush Mobley to the 5 because if you do, we saw them get dominated on the boards last year with Jared Allen at the 5. And Evan Mobley is probably always going to be far from the strongest center on the court. If you make that change next year, it's going to be problematic on the postseason. During the regular season, you can probably get away with it. But in the postseason, that's going to be a problem. So, like you say, Tyrik, they either need to be patient or if they want to win now while Donovan Mitchell is under team control for the next 2 years, and unless they do something crazy, he probably is only there for the next 2 years. I would not be shocked to see him opt out of that player option and get way more of a bag because he's only penciled in at 37 mil that year. So he's opting out regardless because we know based on what contracts are being thrown around right now, he's getting way more than 37 million. But B, he very well may want his way out, whether that's to the Knicks, like it's been heavily rumored, whether that's elsewhere, who knows. But if they want to maximize this 2-year window and they indeed consider this their time, then there's an argument they move off Evan Mobley and try and fit some better pieces around, which I don't advise they do. So then maybe there is a Jared Allen trade, but it's for a different center. Who that is, who knows? But they probably need someone who can shoot, even if it's like JV probably fits their team better, even though it's a worse center than Jared Allen. It's redundant, but it's because he fits the needs of most teams. Like Miles Turner's a guy that would fit. I doubt he gets moved at this point, but those are the types of guys that could help improve this team because, like you guys have alluded to, like this, the two bigs is tough, especially considering they don't even have really consistent three-point shooting from the three. So I don't know if they're going to stand pat and then regret not maximizing the years with Donovan Mitchell, or they are going to make a big splash over the next 6 to 8 months, but they're definitely a team to keep an eye on because they're going to have to make a big splash to maximize the Donovan Mitchell era, or they're probably going to see the Donovan Mitchell era weather away, and then they're going to see what they can do with Garland and Mobley long-term, which probably isn't a bad option because those two as a duo, if they maximize Mobley's development, is probably pretty darn good. What they can do around that, we'll see because they don't have any firsts to really move anything, but nonetheless, they should still be competitive with or without Donovan Mitchell. It'll just be interesting to see what direction they do take with that, to see how good they can actually be moving forward outside of these next 2 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of good points around them. I think it gets so complicated because it is like, oh, if they get rid of Jared Allen, like they were already kind of bad on the boards, and it's like, well, would I rather be bad on the boards and bad on the offensive end because my floor spacing sucks? Or would I rather be bad on the boards and still bad on the boards and trade that out to maybe get a little bit better on the offensive end? And so at that point, it is like, I mean, I'd rather strengthen something if what we're trying to be better at is still going to be a weakness either way. Now, maybe that's an outlier and they end up doing better at that. But it's like, we even talk about like, we don't want to rush Evan Mobley to the 5. And it's like the comparison to like, oh, we want Anthony Davis to go to the 5. Well, Anthony Davis won a championship because that whole playoff run, he was making jump shots at a crazy rate, like stuff that we for real haven't seen him do that much since, and stuff that I don't even think most people expected him to do at that time. Like we knew that he had a very solid jump shot, but we know that Rockets series is almost iconic for the whole time. This Rockets team that's super undersized. Oh, Anthony Davis should be able to go inside and just completely dominate them. But what does he do? He doesn't do that. He just takes the jumpers, but he was just making all of them. And it's like, man, what the hell? Series after that against Denver, he's hitting game winners from the three-point line. It's like Evan Mobley's not doing that. And so if he's not going to be able to space the floor, at a certain point, I know in-betweeners are like a lot more celebrated in today's games than they were before, but it's almost like you don't have the offensive prowess to play the 4, and you don't have the defensive prowess to play the 5. Well, not to say he's not a great defender, but to say like a full-time 5 because he's not big enough. So I guess the correct defensive skill set to play full-time 5. So like it puts him in this really weird spot to where it's like, where is he most effectively utilized? And at this point, I still think that's going to have to be the 5. He's going to have to figure out how to have that defensive ability because I just don't see the offensive game getting to the point where he's going to be able to contribute in a deep playoff run against some of the best teams in the league with his current offensive skill set.
Yeah, and it's like how Devin mentioned earlier, like you would want us, like if they were to make a Jared Allen trade, it's like you want to get another big bag, but somebody that can space the floor. If you really think, there's not a lot of guys that would be available that can do that. Like Brook Lopez just re-signed. You said Valanciunas, like, okay, that's fine. Cat makes probably too much money to go after without depleting your roster. You know, Al Horford would be cool, but I mean, he's a little older now. Like, you know, that window would be very, very short. You know, with his age, it's just like there's not a lot of guys out there, so they're kind of like not handcuffed, but they're gonna have to make a decision at some point. Like, if we want to rush Mobley to be the 5, Do we keep what we have? Do we trade Mobley? Like how Devin said, like there's gonna be choices to make within the next probably like 18 months or so.
Trading Mobley is very interesting just because his value should theoretically be off the charts, but it's really hard to move off of a player like that when you're Cleveland, thinking long term.
So like,
I think that's only the type of trade you can make if you're like that sure in your core that you're going to be able to be a title contender. That's like we have LeBron and we're trading Andrew Wiggins, and they're not there right now. That's we have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and we're cool. Like we're a good team, and we're probably going to be a regular playoff team. But I don't know if anything they're trading Mobley for, at least currently, is getting them there. Now, if somehow they got Dame, then that's a weird world. But then Garland's probably going to have to move, so that's an awkward fit. But that's about the only guy they could bring in right now who's really moving the needle at all. Like, again, Harden's a weird fit, but he's not moving the needle. And that's about it. I mean, there's no one else really that we're expecting to get moved at this point who's that high of a caliber player. So they're just in a weird spot with that right now. The only thing that I could see, because like we've alluded to, it's not likely that Mobley's going to improve at least that much as a shooter. Maybe he'll improve to an extent, but he's probably never going to be a guy, at least we haven't seen signs of it at this point, that he's going to be a respectable perimeter shooter. I think the most likely option for him is he significantly improves his handle and he becomes someone that you have to respect with dribble penetration and hopefully improves his passing a bit. Now, you don't have to respect him as much as a shooter at that point, but at least defenses are going to have to help in the paint if he starts driving downhill, at which point, at least if you have some amount of competent shooters, again, something that they're struggling with, but if they can have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and a Max Strus on the court, you have some options then, and maybe that's something that becomes a little bit more viable for their offense. Now, Mobley's still a long ways away from that, but I think it's a lot more likely that he becomes someone who's a threat at getting downhill and getting to the rim if he can improve his handle than it is. This is the guy that we're fearing shooting 35, 36% from three. So that's probably the most viable option for him. But once again, it's like he has the upside, but can he get there? We'll see with time. Is it going to be soon enough for what Cleveland want with while Donovan Mitchell's there? That's a whole other question. But there's a few options where I think Cleveland can still be fine on the offensive end. I don't think Mobley has to become a really good three-point shooter. It's obviously ideal if he gets there, but I think there's still a few viable options just because of this pure size and length that Mobley has. If he becomes a threat going downhill to the rim, he's not Giannis, but we still know that guys with similar types of length are going to command a lot of respect at the rim, and there's not many guys that are going to be able to match up with that.
Exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to be like, so you're saying he needs to be more of like a Giannis type of player. Not Giannis, but type.
In that type of mold, somebody can get downhill, play make out of it, find the open shooters. I think that's probably the most viable option that opens up their offense in terms of his development.
Yeah, I think that could be very helpful for them. And even because we keep saying, like, up his offensive game, and while that might make you immediately think of the three-point shot, dude, if he gets, like, an elbow-type jumper or just, like, some sort of, like, 10 to 18 feet, just can stretch a little bit in the mid-range, that already just opens up a lot. Just because if he's consistent there, then you don't have two guys that are always crowding the paint. At least he's a little bit out there. Then if Jared Allen's not on the court and there's minutes without him, then whether he's on the roster or not, just in those minutes in those lineups, you could really experiment with just running some more. You got four guys outside, and then you got Evan Mobley who drives in the paint. And, yeah, if he could up his playmaking too, like, he could really become a major player on the offensive side of the ball because the potential is there. We just haven't seen a lot of it translate yet, but there's a reason he was drafted as high as he was, and there's a reason why he gets a lot of the comparisons he does because we know it's possible. I think he just has to get there in order for Cleveland to take that next step. And they're just in that weird spot right now where they have some guys who are ready to win now, like a Donovan Mitchell, but they got some guys who are still kind of on that road and still getting a lot better, and a guy like Evan Mobley. So the timeline's a little mismatched, but Donovan Mitchell's still young enough to where if he were to stay for more than just the 2 years, I think they could see themselves having a very wide window to really get some major work done in that Eastern Conference.
Yeah. Mobley needs to be more like Bam, and Devin saying like Giannis. He could be a hybrid of both, Good playmaker.
He's a special enough talent. He could definitely make his own mold.
Defense like Bam makes a lot of sense. I'll be honest, because saying like not the direct like, because we always say like, damn, great versatile defender, maybe not the greatest direct like paint rim protector type defender, but good enough there
One of
to
the best
where
rim
it's
protectors in the league.
Oh, all right, Jay. But yeah, I could really see his skill set translating to be very similar to that with honestly better perimeter defense.
For sure. And it'll be interesting to see, I was just thinking of it now while you were talking about having some time with Mobley at the 5 when Allen's off the court. It'll be interesting to see, not that I love Georges Niang's game, but it'll be interesting to see if they do experiment with Mobley at the 5, Niang at the 4 lineups, because they actually have someone now post letting go of Kevin Love last year who they can actually play at the 4, who has enough size that I don't think they would get absolutely dominated on the glass with Mobley at the 5, because Niang does have enough size that, given he'd have to commit to that because he's never notoriously been a guy who's a great rebounder or is consistently living in the paint, but at least he does have that size that it's something they could experiment with, something that might be able to give them a few more options to get Mobley out at the 5, because otherwise, I mean, other than Niang, I don't even want to know who else they're playing at the 4. I mean, is Max Strus playing there? Like, it's rough.
It's a very soft experiment too, because you got to think, if they're like, oh, like we don't know if we really want to commit to Mobley at the 5, and like now Allen is off the roster and we're just screwed. Just running some lineups like that in select minutes, you could really see like, could this work out? Because I mean, let's be honest here, like no matter who you start at the 5, like Embiid and Jokic are going to probably give them buckets. Like there're going to be a lot of guys like Sabonis is going to get a lot of work done down there. Like Cat would probably get a lot of offensive work done against that. But, like, those guys are going to do it against anybody. If you put a lineup like that out there and it's doing pretty well against some guys like a Valanciunas, like does pretty well against like a lineup with like a Miles Turner at the 5 or something like that, like those kind of like mid-tier level guys, a DeAndre Ayton, if you're seeing some solid defensive effort against lineups like that with Mobley at the 5, I say you pull the trigger, and they have all the room to experiment with that by playing lineups like you're talking about with a Niang or somebody like that in
there. Yeah,
we got to remember he's still super young too, man. Like, he's still got a long ways to grow. So, hopefully they just don't rush it. That's just what I hope. Like the idea of even like trading Mobley, like it doesn't sound realistic, but it's like they could panic depending on how this upcoming season goes.
Definitely could. There is a certain Pascal Siakam in Toronto who still hasn't been paid, so people might start calling.
Ooh, I would, bro, from Raptors. It's hard to even talk about the Raptors. Like, I'm so confused on what they're doing right now, bro. Like,
that'd be crazy.
Pascal's gotta go, bro. And I literally, Raptors fans just are gonna continue to hate me and Devin, but like, bro has not been paid yet. He's just too good to toil away and keep leading a team to an 8 seed, a 9 seed, and we have seen him be a number 1 on like a 2-3 level seed, but that was a lot of years ago, and that was a very good roster. It was a championship roster who just lost their best player. So, still a championship level pieces all top to bottom on that roster that was able to just really overperform. But dude, Pascal Siakam is a 2 on a really good team. I need to see it again. I really want to see it again because the way he played in 2019, bro. 2019 Pascal really made me fall in love with him as a player. I was out on the court doing spin moves every time I was out there, probably traveling on 80% of them because I didn't have that great of a spin move. I just wanted to do it because I really liked Pascal Siakam's game. That most improved player campaign he had, his 40-piece in the finals, like, dude, he was something else. And he's gotten a lot better since then still, but just the aura it had almost back then was like, dude, him as a second option is just special. He's a true championship second option, and I think that gets overlooked because they haven't been a contender in so long. But there's a lot of teams he could go to that I would really want to see him there. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what the best trade manifests itself as, but dude, I could just imagine him with so many guys. Like, I'd love to see him and Anthony Edwards, for example. Like if there was a cat trade and ended up sending Pascal, even if there's a third team involved, imagine like Pascal, Gobert, and Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. That'd be phenomenal. And just so many other fits like that where there's a lot of places I'd love to see Pascal go. And as a Raptors fan, I can appreciate what he's done for us. And I'll still continue to be a fan of him once he's not here anymore. But like him not getting a new contract, bro, it's telling me everything I need to know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Ujiri just looks like he wants to see it burn at this point. Like Siakam's not been paid or moved. OG's not been paid or moved. Gary Trent, let's not forget, is also on 1 year because he opted into his player option. So he hasn't been paid or moved, despite the fact that immediately after opting into his player option, rumors indicated he was going to be extended. So currently we have 3 starters set to leave, one of which is a guy as good as Pascal Siakam. Gabe bad than Siakam bag. It's crazy.
I got the deepest bag you've ever seen, man.
But yeah, it's a weird spot now where like you say, Gabe, especially in Siakam's case, and even still with OG and Gary Trent, like you just haven't done anything. And you're not a team that is good enough to not do anything. Like that's the type of thing you do if you're going to be contending, and they just haven't. So it's frustrating. Like you say, I want to see Siakam in a good spot. Hell, even OG I want to see in a competitive environment because evidently we saw it in the bubble and he had some good moments, most notably that shot against the Celtics at the buzzer. But we didn't really see him. We didn't really see him in that finals run either because he was injured for most of it. So we haven't seen him in a lot of really competitive environments. And he's another type of guy who I feel would be very, very productive for a lot of competitive teams. I mean, there's a reason why Jury was wanting 3 first-round picks for him at the deadline last year. Now, that might have been a bit egregious, but there's still a reason he wanted it. He's going to be that valuable to a very competitive team. So let's just hope they do something because there's a reason why I don't think they're going to make the postseason next year, and that's regardless of whether they make trades or not. So at this point, you just got to hope they get some value back. Maybe they do it before the deadline, but I'm really afraid that Ujiri is just going to watch this team be as competitive as they can be, just watch it burn, have everyone walk next summer, and he'll just say, okay, let me go rebuild my next team and just leave us in absolute misery. And I am more confident that that's going to happen than I should be because Ujiri does not like to rebuild. This man is competitive, sometimes to a fault, and I'm really worried that might happen.
I said it months ago, bro. Like, Ujiri, bro, I respect all that he did for the franchise. But listen, at a certain point, what he wants to do does not align with what they need to do. You're talking about we need to stay as competitive as possible. My God, a starting lineup with Dennis Schroeder as your starting point guard in the year of our Lord 2023 is not competitive for nothing. They're only competitive for one thing, and that's a play-in spot. Not a playoff spot, a play-in spot. All these other teams are on the up, and the Raptors are one of the few teams, probably like them, Chicago, maybe one or two others, probably Philadelphia, one of the few teams in the Eastern Conference who I can confidently say are on the downtrend. And that's not a good spot to be, especially when you're not trying to be on the downtrend. We were just talking about that Cleveland lineup where it's like, oh, who could they put out there to really have a good offensive lineup with like Mobley at the 5? Dude, imagine OG in that spot. Like, because I like the players on the Raptors because obviously I'm a fan of the team. So I'm just a fan of those players by nature. Once they leave, it's the same reason I have a DeMar DeRozan Spurs jersey. I have like jerseys and shit like that of players who leave because I want them to succeed. Imagine OG Anunoby in that Cleveland lineup. If he was running the 4 there next to like Strus, Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, like it might be a little small, but that'd be a fun lineup to watch. Like I was talking about, Pascal, he goes somewhere like Minnesota, thrives there at their 4 spot. I would love to see that. And there's just so many guys on this roster from top to bottom. Gary Trent Jr., the just scoring he can provide. When he gets hot, he's one of the most fun players to watch. Like, there's just so many pieces. And that's really what this roster is at this point. It's just a collection of pieces. It's not a team. There's no construction. It's just guys. And it got a little bit better when they traded for Jakob Poeltl because then at least there was like a center on the team because that was a role that wasn't filled either. It was like mid guard play, bad center play, and then like a bunch of forwards. Now at least they have like a good center and then a bunch of forwards, but now the point guard play is even worse. So it's just construction is terrible. I don't know what they're doing. That's the weekly Raptors rant. Just to put a positive bow on this, here's a Raptor pop figure to make your day better, but it just makes me sad.
We haven't had the Raptors rant in quite some time, though, so it's good to see it happen again. But yeah, that sucks, man. Masai is too prideful for his own good and for the Toronto Raptors' own good.
The pride of a man.
Hey, it's the rise and fall of a human, man. I'm telling you, but yeah, I want to see y'all pick a direction, bro, because basketball's better when the Raptors are good. I'll say that. That's how it's been over like the last decade. Basketball's a lot better, and just like how you was saying, Devin, like it's not a playoff team. It's not a playoff team, man. You might as well just cut your losses, trade the guys, OG, Pascal, Gary, whoever else you need to trade. Just get what you can and just move on, man. Pick a direction, move on, go forward. Because it's all there, but it's not there for you guys to be a playoff team really this season or maybe even anytime soon. I got flashbacks when Gabe said Dennis Schroeder as a starting point guard because the Celtics are not too far removed from that like a couple years ago.
It's so bad. It's so rough. Like, just I don't even know what to say at this point, bro. It just makes me sad. Thinking back to the good old days of like, even though we lost to y'all in the bubble, what a good series. And it's only been downhill for Toronto from there. That Philly series, like when we went down 3-0 and just made it interesting, like that was honestly a good series because to go down 3-0, it took like an Embiid buzzer, or it wasn't a buzzer beater, but it was like a game winner basically. It's like turnaround 3-point shot. Like it was this insane shot. So it's like the Raptors really weren't that far off from leading that series 3-2, assuming the other 4 games go the same way. So it's like really close, well-fought series, even if we did get to the point of no return a little early. But nowadays, it's just not even fun to watch. Like, they're just going to be mid again. And I don't know. I had a point, but then I lost it because I'm just like, it's just so depressing. Like, I don't even know what to say.
It do be like that. Raptors Twitter is definitely not a positive space to be in most time these days. Although they have been hyping up Dennis Schroeder, but I don't know if that's making me any more excited because they've been hyping him up. But it's like, man, like telling me I'm supposed to get excited about Dennis Schroeder. It's like, sure I don't even expect him to start as much as I kind of want him to. But it's like, sure, if that's the case, it's probably our best backup point guard we've had in a few years. But I mean, what's the bar? The bar's been Malachi Flynn. So
the vibes are so not immaculate. I was thinking about this video the other day. There was a video that came out like I think it was during Scotty's rookie year. And I think it was Scotty, but the main person in the video was Freddie Gillespie, bro. And they were singing Party in the USA at practice. And I'm like, dude, the vibes are so immaculate. Like, the vibes were so immaculate. And that's the most random. Like, it literally is not on the court at all. It's just pure vibes. It's like, I miss when being a Raptors fan was fun because we were still pretty mid, but it was like this new Scotty guy, like, he might turn it around and really force them to go into a new direction. And then they just didn't. The timeline's off. The positions are off. Everything is just off. Like, the vibes are very much not immaculate.
It's crazy how delusional fan bases are. Like, universally across all sports, across the NBA, like you're telling me you're trying to get yourself excited to watch Dennis Schroeder be your best guard? Are you serious?
It's like, crazy though, because there's a lot of people on Raptors Twitter who think this is about to be like a 46-48 win team and a top 6 seed. And that's just Raptors Twitter for you. Like, I see way more of that than I see people thinking that they're going to be like a 40-win team next year. I think there's a lot of Raptors fans. I think there's a lot of Raptors fans who are optimistic. I have them.
They win 48 games.
I have them at 35 next year. Just
for they win 48 games. I will get
just for a comparison of disparity.
I will get a Raptors tattoo. I will get a Raptors tattoo if they win 48 games.
I just remembered what my point was from earlier. Dude, I just wish the players would hurry up and request a fucking trade. Like, Masai's not going to do it. This was what I was thinking about earlier, right? I would love to see Pascal Siakam thrive somewhere else. I know I'm kind of repeating myself. Most Pascal Siakam / Raptors fans would love to see Pascal Siakam thrive somewhere else if they're thinking about this as what's best for him and not what's best for their Toronto bias. And even then, I still think what's best for Toronto would be him moving on. But there's been so many reports that Pascal Siakam doesn't want to play anywhere else. Same thing. OG Anunoby's been in trade rumors for so long. If I'm OG, I'm like, get this shit over with, bro. Like, just trade me. Let's go to the next spot. I don't even have a new contract right now. I'm basically an expiring deal at this point. Like, let's cut the ties. Let's stop doing this will they, won't they, Ross Rachaling it, if you will. Let's just pull the trigger and get on with it already. Like, and because the players don't really take it into their hands to say, like, yeah, it's time to go, the front office is really just allowed to sit there and be complacent and keep these guys around when really they shouldn't be, because both sides would just be better off if they had a divorce. It needs to be done. It's really just, it's the best for all sides. It's the best for the front office because they can get a new direction. It's the best for the exiting players because they can compete for something bigger. It's good for the young players still on the roster. It's going to be good for Scotty Barnes. It's going to be good if Grady Dick can come in, and in his first few seasons, he has more free range to really develop his game and maybe become a big player for the Raptors. But as it is right now, there's like 5 or 6 guys on the roster who already have these established roles that's going to take us nowhere. And that's going to bury a guy like Grady Dick down the pecking order so far to where he's not going to have that much ability to shine and really grow as a player. So at this point, it's even screwing over the new guys we're trying to bring
Yeah. So I think I asked y'all about Harden last week. Like, what are the chances by the deadline? Because I'm not expecting anytime soon for anybody to get moved. By the trade deadline between OG and Pascal, are both still on the team, or one of them gone, or are both of them gone?
I think one's gone.
I
couldn't tell you which.
sadly.
I couldn't tell you which one. I think one is gone because if you have that many expiring deals, I feel like even if Masai has this pride to keep wanting to compete, I feel like he wouldn't let all of the expiring deals just walk. I feel like he'd try to get something in return for one of them. But he also has too much pride to blow it up, so one of them will stay. I think if I had to choose which one would be gone, I think that it would probably be OG because he'd be like, we're not trading the best player on the team midseason.
My counterpoint to that is he basically just went into this offseason with 3 expiring deals. Gary opted in, so he was good. He re-signed Jakob. Freddie walked. That could have been a lot worse. Gary could have walked, could have opted out. Total, I thought it was going to be more of a sure lock to re-sign than it was. It sounded like once free agency hit, he had a few big offers from elsewhere. So we've already seen him do it once, given it wasn't with someone as good as Siakam. It was just Freddie, but I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen again. I really hope it's not the case, but I would not be shocked to see it happen again. But like you say, I would not be surprised at all if Siakam is not moved. Now, I still wouldn't be shocked if Ujiri says, let's lock him up next summer, as much as I don't know if that's the smartest way to go about it. Point being is no one else is going to really have cap space for him next summer, most likely, unless someone activates a ton of cap space, maybe the Spurs. But that's about it. Everyone else is just going to be a sign and trade. So then it's just in the Raptors ballpark at that point. Whether they actually want to keep him or not, it's like Siakam's not going to have as much leverage as he would otherwise, but who knows, man. I don't trust this man as far as actually giving us some future assets at this point. So it's up in the air.
I'm not thinking about Pascal in Minnesota. That's all I can think about.
I'm telling you, dude, it'd be so beautiful. It'd be so beautiful.
I don't need to hear Jelson's takes on it, but it would be great.
Yeah,
Dude, I can't talk about Minnesota over there, bro. I'll talk about Minnesota on Wednesday because Justin's not there. Dude, Justin's supposed to come on 3 Point Weekly, man.
I was talking to him about it because he was supposed to be a guest on here a little bit ago. And it never.
He is overdue. He is overdue.
Yeah.
He was almost about to come on today, bro. I was talking to him yesterday. I'm like, would you be able to come on tomorrow? I can talk to the guys about it. He said, I'll let you know in the morning. And earlier today, he said he wasn't going to be able to do it. So I'm like, all right, I'll let it go. But listen, we do owe Garrett. We owe Garrett big time, man, because the Nuggets won the title, and we've almost gone through like the whole offseason. And
He's about to pop back up in chat. Like, yep, got my first pick.
We do have a draft to do. And listen, we could make it a decent little collaborative effort, man. Even if we have more than just the four of us, we had like 5 or 6 guys in here, man. Hey, that'd be fun to me. That would be fun to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I could rock with that.
Oh, for sure.
That'd be like a long-awaited 100 subscriber special.
100 subscribers. That's the 150 subscriber special.
Yeah.
We're only 4 away. We'll get there.
Pretty much.
No, for sure. We'll definitely have to do that at some point. Whether it be a G25 draft or something else, will definitely have to be done.
Man, listen, we came in with 0 team topics today, and bro, we got some decent Cleveland talk and Raptors talking. I feel like when it comes to us, just because of where all our fandoms lie, at least I feel like we're biased to talk about these Eastern Conference teams more, because it's really either like the Raptors, the Celtics, or we'll just go into like the Magic or the Pistons or one of like the rebuilding teams. Like,
bro,
this is very much an Eastern Conference centric podcast.
What, like, we banned the Blazers. We talked about like the Kings a lot during the season. We talked about them a ton.
It was hard not to.
That's true. We talked about how much we didn't believe in Denver in the postseason.
We are.
Was that all of? I remember really pushing those narratives, but
we're majority OKC supporters. I don't know where Gabe really lies on the spectrum, but I'm bought in with Dev, man. I'm buying into the potential 4-seed narratives.
I'm pretty bought in on OKC. Last year I was really bought in on New Orleans, but then Zion still didn't put his season together. We all were. I was bought in on New Orleans 4-seed last year, so I am like a little bit suspect on that like young team makes jump to 4-seed because I'm like, do I really want to do it again? But it's very possible. Their roster is very stacked, and especially like
somebody's gonna do it. Somebody pretty much does it every year out west.
Every year.
Like I really feel like because everybody's like, oh, like Shea's about to go into superstardom, and to me, like I really think Chet is about to be a needle mover day one, bro. I think his defense is special.
Yeah.
I think his defense is so huge for them. So
I think his offense.
Honestly, what's got me bought in on OKC low key. Now that I've been making all these thumbnails, bro, the OKC color scheme is just so fire for thumbnails. I love making OKC thumbnails, bro. So I'm like, I almost want to go out of my way to talk about them more often than not, because I'm like, that means I get to make a nice little crisp thumbnail of OKC with that orange and blue. I'm like, I love it. Them and I've been riding Indiana crazy all offseason, if you couldn't tell.
We know.
Yeah, you know, but I
think it's on the Halliburton train.
Dude, if Indiana finishes next year as like a 10 seed, like I might look like the worst analyst of all time. But
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
Injuries would have to happen.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of been customary the last few years. Someone in the West makes a jump. Like last year, it was the Kings up to like those top 3 seeds. Years before that, it was the Grizzlies. Year before that, it was the Suns. Given there was some moves in there that helped some of them, but SGA's move could be shit.
Denver did it the first year. They were like a legit playoff team.
Yeah, Denver did it like 2019, I think, because they went. That was the year they played all the Game 7s. They played Game 7 with the Spurs in the first round with DeMar and LaMarcus. Then they played who they played in the second round? Was it Portland they went 7 with? I think it was like a big CJ series.
CJ games. The Rodney Hood game.
Wait, was that – did that CJ have like a big Game 7, or am I misremembering that? Because that was the Blazers conference finals run.
CJ had 37, I think, in that game 7. And he was like he was frying Torrey Craig down the stretch.
That's a forgotten game right there. I forgot when you said Rodney Hood too, bro. I haven't heard. That's a name I have not heard in a couple of years at this point.
Raptors legend Rodney Hood.
Dude, was he on any teams after? I almost forgot he was here. Like, I know when I think of Rodney Hood, I think of like Utah Rodney Hood. Then I think of him being on like that dog shit Cavs team. LeBron carried them. And then he was on Portland. And I don't remember anything after Portland except he was here in Toronto for a second.
I actually don't remember him playing anywhere else either.
Yeah, but he might have fallen out.
He might have gotten games somewhere. Yeah, he did get games somewhere. And then the following season, he played 29 games for the Bucks, which sounds familiar now that I think of it.
Yeah,
the Bucks signed him that summer, and then he played 13 games with the Clippers.
The Clippers?
Yeah, he played under 10 minutes a game.
There's some teams where
back after the season where the Clippers were like without Paul George for a while. They were playing like I think Robert Covington had like a 40-point game, and it must have been that season.
I'm thinking who was really like who you think is the team right now where like careers go to die? Because before, like there was a couple year stretch where like players would either go to Minnesota, Brooklyn, or Philadelphia, and they would fall out the league. Like that mid 2010s, like even into late 2010s. But I don't know who that team is right now where careers really just go to die.
I don't know if there's really a team like that right now.
Might be the Clippers for real, man.
I was about to say, dude, the Clippers might be that team.
I mean, Robert Covington went from somebody that maybe could be in all defensive conversations to, damn, this guy shouldn't be playing basketball anymore.
What's Marcus Morris doing these days, bro?
The most hated man in LA.
Dude, it might be contenders these days, bro. Like careers kind of go to like the Clippers, the Lakers. Some careers go because if you go to the Lakers, either your career is dead or your career is rejuvenated. This like goes like one in two ways.
No in between. Yeah, there might not be like a spot that's like just there.
I think some players are about to go to Phoenix and have their careers die. Like I would not be surprised if we see the death of Eric Gordon's NBA career very soon.
I think his career already died.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
I'm not a big Eric Gordon guy anymore. Never really was, but
especially honestly,
I was an enjoyer in Houston, like early Houston, not late Houston, not at all.
Yeah, early Houston. Depending on how desperate they get, Dallas could become that spot too. I like their offseason so far, but they could become that spot.
Dude, I feel like Dallas got some steals. Like, I really think because I was low as fuck on Dallas because y'all know, like, I'm usually a little bit of a guy that would kind of underrate Luka. I'll be a little bit of a Luka hater because he couldn't come from my guy's spot like that, bro. He could not try to take Curry's spot as the best point guard in the league. But listen, I've come around. I've had a breakthrough the past couple of years where I can't hate on greatness anymore, right? I'm not allowed to hate on greatness anymore because I can't take advantage of these things. If somebody is really performing to the top of the top level, I do have to acknowledge that because I was even like, bro, I was kind of a Denver hater for a second too. I was a Bucks hater. Like I would hate on all these teams, and I'm like, man, I need to stop hating on every team that gets good that's not my favorite team or like one of my favorite players. But that was this offseason. I went in, I'm like, dude, this team is dog water. Like, this team sucks. Like, they got Kyrie and Luka, and the rest of this team is horrible. But, like, some of the stuff they did, especially late offseason, like, when I saw they picked up Derrick Jones Jr., I'm like, that's a steal. And that might be the most minor move to some people, but to me, that is a steal, bro. A guy, especially a guy that you can play rotational minutes as a wing guy.
Like, what the hell they was running last year back after the season.
Like good depth pieces. It's like the more I look at this roster top to bottom, I'm like, okay, like Kyrie, Luka Doncic, if they start like Reggie Bullock at the 3 or something, and then however they end up shaking out like the big man rotation. We know. You said who?
Bullock's gone. He was.
Oh, what's gone? Oh, I'm looking at
involved in the
last
Grant
year's
Williams
roster. Shoot.
But
I was about to say he's still there, but even still, like they got Grant Williams, they got like Josh Green, they got Seth Curry, like Tim Hardaway Jr. is still there. Go to the 4, like Grant Williams. I assume probably Maxi Kleber gets some minutes there. Then like Rashawn JaVale at the 5. They were. I was hearing some Derek Lively slander yesterday, and I was not really fucking with it. Because listen, I don't give a. This could low key be turned into its own little YouTube video, so I'm swearing a lot. My fault, but I could give a crap what Derek Lively's offensive game is like, because this is exactly what I was saying in the main segment of this stream. When you got Kyrie out there, especially with Luka, that's your offense, bro. You just have a couple, like 1 or 2 other shooters on the court that you can pass to. Your offense is going to be just fine because those guys can just figure it out. If Derek Lively's out there and he ups your defense, he serves his role. He provides more than what he could even be asked to do on that team. If a big man comes in there and they up that defense, that's really all they needed. That was the main goal. So they're good, bro. They're good. I like the fact that they have a few, like, 2, 3, 4 good bigs they could for real play. Their guard rotation's obviously going to be set because it'll probably be Luka or Kyrie staggered most of the time, and that's automatically a good backcourt. And there's a solid wing rotation. I'm messing with Dallas, and I like it because last year I think we all had them predicted like the very bottom of the playoffs, like 8 seed type territory. So the fact that they're for real looking like a team that I could predict as like a top 5 seed and be looked at pretty normally is like kind of cool.
I think top 5 is like 5 seed range is like a ceiling. That's if a lot goes right. But I feel like they should be more comfortable towards the end of the season than trying to scratch and claw their way to get into the 10th seed. They did have a good compared to what they had last season. Like I think like fucking Theo Pinson was getting minutes. My Carolina boy, I love Theo Pinson, but should not be getting NBA minutes on a team that's trying to make the playoffs. They were just running some like Derrick Jones Jr. would have been like one of their best wing players last season. Like that's just how putrid it was towards the back half of the year. So they did a good job of getting what they could this offseason. They should be better. They should be better in the full year of Kyrie and Luka. Hopefully, Luka doesn't have to miss as many games too. You know, we talked about that last week. That was kind of a big reason why they also fell off. As long as those guys are both available and the pieces that they brought in contribute and are just better than what they were running with towards the end of last season, they should 100% be a better team.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely be better than how they ended last year. And they obviously see what they like, or they like what they see in Lively well enough to move off of McGee today. So they're obviously going with Holmes and Lively going forward, which, I mean, McGee, maybe he's a good backup center somewhere or someone, but man went from having one of the best backup center seasons in Phoenix to whatever last year was. So we'll see what happens with him. But like you guys said, like they have a lot better pieces compared to what they had last year. I still hope they move off of Tim Hardaway Jr. because I think based on what they have, they're just better off not using him anyways. I'd rather them use Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, Omax, Derrick Jones Jr., and I'm forgetting some other wing that I want them to use. But they got enough guys there that between that and then as far as guards go, obviously you have Luka and Kyrie. I'd rather them use Jaden Hardy at this point. And honestly, like he's probably not going to get a ton of minutes, but I don't hate Dante Exum filling in the Frank Ntilikina role, especially if he can continue to translate what he has seemingly improved as a shooter overseas over the last few years. He doesn't have to be a great one, but he can run that offense a bit. He can play make a bit. He's certainly going to be able to provide some good defense, assuming he can stay healthy. That's obviously been the biggest thing with Dante Exum, but he should be able to fill in that Frank Ntilikina role. So they got some guys there. I still don't love the depth, but it's certainly much better than what it was. So they're definitely in a much better spot.
About Frank, he was actually like as decent as he gets last season. Like he was just like he did what Frank does.
He was a fine backup point guard, better than what the Raptors had. So
everything is better than what the Raptors had at backup point guard. I mean, being the 4th guard on Dallas's roster is a very, I feel, low pressure situation anyways, because like you're gonna have your starting guys, Luka and Kyrie, and then they're both point guards. So like, if one of them just wants to run the backup backcourt with Seth Curry out there next to them, that's a more than fine backcourt to have out there. And just you can stagger those three guys and then just give a fourth guy some minutes, and it's like fine. If everybody else just plays like wing and big minutes next to those three guys, like this team is damn solid.
Tough to do like record predictions this year. It's always tough in the West, but so you got to factor in Ja missing so much time to start the year. Phoenix, Lakers, Clippers, like what's their health going to be? Minnesota, like
1 through 11 is crazy. Although even 1 through 12 for me, because I'm higher on Utah than most, but even just 1 through 11 is so tough.
I think if Utah wants to be competitive, they will be.
Utah, I don't know. I just like they got some solid pieces there, just like last year, but I don't know if it's high level enough to make the playoffs in this conference.
Lakers are going to be good.
I mean, there's probably I think like there's going to be a team that finishes at the bottom that we don't expect. Like I don't think anybody expected Portland to be a 13 seed last year or whatever they ended up being. But like,
I had them at 11 seed. Close enough.
You had them at 11, but it's like
yeah.
I don't think. I mean, but even still, like nobody expected them to be like the bottom of the bottom. Like you can be an 11 seed and be like mid. Like the Chicago Bulls
until they sat Dame down for like the last month, basically.
Like the Bulls before DeMar, like those teams were like mid, like that level of team. Like I could see like Utah being that level of team, but like I feel like there's going to be a team who like we think is going to be like a playoff lock that just somebody catches the injury bug and just has like a terrible season. It happens to somebody every year.
That's definitely possible. You're making me want to go back when I get home now on Friday. I'm going to have to check and see how many wins I had Portland get in. I'm curious because I don't remember. But, yeah, I mean, like everyone's going to have that probably. Most people probably aren't considering Utah even a play-in team compared to the other 11 teams above them. So everybody's going to have at least one team they have to pick that everyone's going to be like, oh, how do you not have them? And it's like, well, tell me who to take out. Like someone's going to miss out at least on the play-in at the very least, not to mention the fact that 3 teams that most people consider the so-called top 11 are going to miss out in the playoffs. So it's really tough out west. I mean, it's similar out east in the fact that there's a lot of teams that are going to be improving and I think could take steps up alongside the fact that there's teams kind of hanging out in the middle like Atlanta, like Toronto, like Chicago. But in the west, there's just a ton of teams that are looking to compete that aren't even that young. They're just experienced looking to win now. So it's going to be a very interesting Western Conference. It would not surprise me at all if it's one of those years where there's a very small win total gap between like the 4 seed and the 10 seed. It can definitely be one of those years.
A 48-win team misses the playoffs. Imagine that.
I don't know if it'll be
that point again.
I don't think the bad teams are bad enough, and I don't think the good teams are good enough. So I think it'll separate enough. That, and especially in the West, I think saying the good teams aren't good enough. I think Denver are good enough, though. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least a 60-win team to balance it out a bit too.
Dude, I don't know if there's a 60-win team this year because there wasn't a 60-win team last year.
Phoenix did a couple years ago.
Yeah, I feel like Phoenix did it, but with just the amount of good teams, like stuff like when the Warriors won 73 games, like that same season, the 76ers were one of the worst teams in the history of basketball. Like the Lakers were really bad. The Suns were really bad. Like those were years Brooklyn was really bad. There were teams who were like awful. And so I feel like for teams to get that high of win totals like the Warriors and Spurs got that year with like 73 and like 67, you have to have some teams that are just that bad. And like you look this year and it's like, who are the worst teams? Like, I guess San Antonio is probably still going to be at the bottom. I mean, when you look at the East, like the worst teams are probably still like the Pistons, Hornets, Nets, and all of those teams have solid talent there. And so it's like there's not that many teams that are just you think, oh, this team's winning 20 games or less.
Yeah, I mean, you just said the Hornets, and I think they're in the postseason. So that tells you everything you need to know about that conversation. Like, I think they're a above 500 team, and that just shows the amount of talent in the league next year.
Yeah, because even a team I didn't mention either, like I think some people are really low on the Wizards, think they might be like one of the worst teams in the East. But then other people are like, oh, like I think Jordan Poole and Kuzma and them and Tyus Jones, all that, like they might lead them to a fair amount of wins. And somebody's got to lose games. Somebody has to lose games. And so somebody's probably going to underperform. But on paper, like every team has talent right now. It's a lot different from the days of like 2012 to like 2018 where there's like some teams that are really, really good and some teams that are really, really bad. And so besides like Milwaukee's done it and Phoenix has done it, but there really hasn't been that many teams that just explode for crazy high win totals in the past couple of years.
We might not be a 50-win team for maybe another couple of years, to be honest.
I mean, Milwaukee got 58, so like they weren't too far off. Boston had 57. I don't know. Some people were saying that Boston's going to be even better than last year when they won 57. So they might win around 60 games.
I don't see them winning 60.
No, I think if anyone gets 60 next year, it's Denver. I think Denver's the only potential team next year.
And I think
I just don't know if Denver's that bought into like the regular season that late because that's how they tricked us all last year. Like they won 53 because they knew they were about to be the top seed, and then they had that end of season slide because they were just getting ready for postseason basketball. So like that's what was really surprising is they hadn't even won a ring yet. Like usually it's really those experienced teams that are looking for like multiple championships. They're like regular season, like it don't matter no more. It's time to get a ring. But they hadn't even got a ring yet, and they still took that same mentality and it ended up working out.
Yeah, the only thing I try to keep in mind with Denver for next year is Jamal was missing probably more time than he will likely miss to start this past season. And he was obviously just getting the rust off of him. He wasn't bad to start the year, but evidently he was a much better player, even just during the back half of the regular season than he was to start the year. And not to say that we'll get playoff Jamal Murray throughout the majority of the regular season, because I don't think we can expect that at this point, at least not until he proves it to us. But it'll certainly be better than what we had for Jamal Murray throughout the first 20, 30, even 40 games of last year.
Sure, don't forget Michael. I don't see a contest Porter Jr. Man.
Yeah, that man did not be seeing any
contest. That was some crazy narratives, bro. He just can't believe he bought it. He just accepts it at this point. He's like, yeah, if I get the rock, bro, I'm shooting it. If he keeps going in, bro, that's like prime Clay. Like 2017 Clay, bro. Like he would take those terrible shots.
He still takes those shots.
But I'm saying back then he made them at such an elite level consistently that nobody complained about it. Like people complain about it these days because he'll have nights where he just shoots terrible. But like in his prime, and like Michael Porter Jr. in this playoffs, bro, like some of those shots, I'm just like, wow, like he took that and then it sinks every time, and it's like you can't even be mad.
It's different.
Like that shot selection doesn't matter until you start missing. I fully stand on that because there's so many players who take terrible shots, but they go in so much, bro. Like some of the shots that Damian Lillard and Steph Curry have been taking for 8 years are terrible shots. Paul George said that game winner by Damian Lillard, it was a bad shot. It was.
But when you a lot of people, but not those guys, because they make a living off those shots.
When you make it consistently, your shot's so actually like, bro, the best shot is the one that goes in. 10 times out of 10, the best shot is the one that goes in. So if you're making that shot, and Michael Porter Jr., to his credit, makes those shots, I could care less about your shot selection. If you're Russell Westbrook, your shot selection matters. If you're Steph Curry, it doesn't. It's just that simple.
It ain't a bad shot if it's going in. So that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. But like you said, Gary, like this is the other thing with Jamal is that I always forget about is like part of it was physical, but the biggest thing for him coming back that he talked about was the mental aspect. So that was part of it too. So So, I mean, when you're coming off that serious knee injury, you're coming down and landing around 7-footers. That's definitely a hell of an adjustment. So,
Didn't D Rose talk about that? Like when he got injured the first time, he got injured again because he came back and he was like playing like he was afraid to get injured, so like changed the way he was landing and stuff and led to a re-injury. So like especially when you're a point guard and like a more athletic player, I can definitely see just having to come back in and like realize that you're not invincible, but you also need to play like you did before. Else, if you like change stuff up, it's gonna get just even worse. Like that balance of being safe but also being yourself is harder than anything. That's not even just basketball. That's like life, bro. When you like for real, like if you get sick or something and you gotta like go away from something for a little bit, it's gonna be hard getting back into it.
I remember when Kobe came back from the Achilles. I think they was playing like OKC or something, and he got like a breakaway, and he wouldn't even jump off of the injured like leg. Like he jumped off the opposite foot, just laid it up because it's like you could just tell he wasn't comfortable and he wasn't ready to be back. So this shows like that mental hurdle. I've never had a big injury, but I could only imagine like the mental hurdle to overcome that and like try and get back to yourself and exceed that level that you were at before.
That's why guys who come back and they're like they literally play at the highest level of their career, which I would say Jamal did. Even like talking about the Nuggets, like really Michael Porter did the same thing too. Like he had all these back injuries, and I'd say right now is the best version of himself he's ever been. So guys that are able to get through that, I'm trying to think like Zach LaVine, like he had those ACLs early on. He ended up becoming the best version of himself after that. Guys that go through these early injuries and are able to come back even better, like I feel like it's underrated how impressive that is because for every one of those stories, there's a Dante Exum, a Jabari Parker, I hate to say it, but a Derrick Rose, like guys who they get all the injuries and they never get back to that level that they were at. Like guys who get injured and then ascend, it's insane. And I guess one more name to add to like the good list there is even like Kevin Durant, where I don't want to say like it's peak Kevin Durant, but like go watch that Bucks series again. That Nets Bucks series, KD in the playoffs after the Achilles, after everything he went through, like insane stuff. Insane stuff.
He's still like offensively just as potent. Like at this age that he was 10 years ago, essentially. Still as efficient, still gets to his spots, still unstoppable most nights. Like he still elite even after the Achilles, which is like the career ender of injuries.
I mean, that's like the worst injury you could get, pretty much. Like basketball, like
Especially as a basketball player.
Basketball, yeah. Like obviously, there's like if you break your neck, like it's cooked, but nobody really breaks their neck in basketball. So as far as basketball injuries, Achilles is probably like literally worst case scenario.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just the physical nature of that is crazy. But I mean, like we've been saying, like mentally getting back through that. I mean, I was out of sports for 10 months. And let me tell you, that's not easy. Coming back into that, get your form back, be mentally back, to be ready to go again, get yourself in game shape mentally and physically. Like, that's a journey. And evidently these guys have got a lot of staff and support around them. But, like, that's not an easy journey to get back from. So for all the guys that can do it, like, it's a hell of a feat. And it's become so, like, even though you say, Gabe, there's a lot of guys who evidently don't do it, it still becomes so normalized that so many of these guys do come back from these injuries that they honestly don't get as much credit as they probably should, because it is not an easy feat to come back and perform at such a high level that they do after such significant injuries.
Bro, like it honestly makes it hard not to root for a team like Denver with stuff like that. Like they're another team where I think I'll definitely soften my stance on over time, because the more you get familiarized with like the players themselves and their stories, like it's for real hard to hate almost any team. It's like I hated Milwaukee forever, but then you just see Giannis as a guy and like his story and just the way he acts, and like not only with how funny he is, but like just how humble he was, despite literally being like the best player in the league. And it's like you can't hate this guy. Like you physically cannot hate this guy. And it's like now I want to root for you. So now it's like, all right, I'll mess with what you're doing. And it's the same thing with Denver, bro. Like you see like Jamal Murray, he had all these injuries, came back, was a closer in the NBA Finals. Michael Porter, he had this crazy draft slide because people weren't confident in his back, had back injuries his first couple of years in the league, came out once again. Phenomenal shooter, very high-level impact piece on a finals team. Like, there's a lot to look at there, and it's like, dude, how can you even root against these guys? Like, that's just straight, just old-fashioned adversity. And that, I mean, it's just never going to not be, like, a cool thing to see unfold.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's great to see these guys always come back. At this point, I saw the clip today with him responding to Stephen A. Just want to see Lonzo Ball back on the court.
Dude, I saw that.
I know Garrett wants it more, but I want that so bad.
Lonzo's a damn good player, too. Damn good player. Good shooter, good facilitator, good defender, great all-around basketball player. Not an all-star like he was touted to be, but, bro, I would love to see Lonzo Ball back on the court. I don't even care if it's in Chicago or not, wherever he plays at. He just makes any basketball player.
He's becoming a star in his role for sure. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the Trae Young podcast interview, but he was saying, like, you know, he was a shooter all his life, and when he got to the league, he just couldn't shoot anymore. And then, like, a couple of days before his first year in New Orleans, I think Fred Vincent was like, we're changing this shit. You know, we're changing the shot. And he said, like, you know, I wanted to go back to the old form so bad, but stuck with it. Became like I think like 3 years in a row, he was shooting like 38+% from three, which is above league average. For somebody that was as broke as he was his first few years, like, that's just a drastic change. So he's somebody, like you said, Gabe, it's hard to root against somebody that's been through so much. And for Lonzo, too, like, even before all the injuries settled in, he was just going through, like, a lot, just, like, the pressure that he was under, like, from day one being in L.A. So, like you said, Dev, I just hope he's back, you know, healthy within the next, like, well, by next season. I just hope he's back on the court because he still, like,
Toronto.
Bro, so young still, and he was really just starting to, like, really come into his own game. And it was just so unfortunate that that injury happened.
On one knee, he's the best point guard in Toronto right now. I stand on that.
You got to get a point guard for y'all, man. Nah, he was really, like, the engine damn there for that Bulls team, you know, when they were the best team in the East. It feels like that was so long ago.
Dude,
but he was really the engine.
He got injured, and the Bulls fell off, bro. Bulls ain't been the same since. Like, the Bulls are cursed with having a point guard that makes the team go, then they go down, and it's over. The Bulls run to the point guard position. It's really that simple. So hopefully Kobe White turns it up, or the Bulls might be looking a little rough this year. But I guess
we'll see. Turning it up towards the end of the year. We can hope.
Yeah, he was looking decent, man. But dude, yeah, that's another
Carolina great.
That's an interesting video idea. The top 5 saddest fan bases right now in the NBA. Because I can tell you, Chicago got to be on that list. Toronto's got to be on that list. Got to be a couple Western Conference teams. Who else is a really sad fan base?
Portland if they don't trade Dame.
Portland if they don't trade Dame.
Oh, God.
There's a world where the Rockets are a sad fan base because of, like, the signings this season.
I meant to fix this in the group chat because I finally looked through the comments from that video. This is like, that's what I was going earlier. Like, fan bases are so delusional. It's sick. It's bad.
The Rockets video?
Yes.
Dude, they really were like, never make a takeaway basketball team again.
They was like, this Rick guy. It's like, this Rick guy just needs to stop talking. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
what did I say that's so egregious?
Dude, I feel like over time, I don't know if I just give safe ass takes, but like in both of the channels like I'm involved with, I really feel like I don't get that many hate comments directed towards shit I say. Bruh, like, this is one comment, bruh. These are all awful takes. None of these guys understand where the Rockets are and where they should be. If you don't understand contracts and salary, then just say you don't know.
Gabe was the only one who understood somewhat anything about the Rockets, but the other two were straight on the wrong idea.
The biggest thing that I would always
I'm
get.
so far off base, like just stop talking or something like that.
Like, bro, they were really caping for me out here, bro.
The biggest thing I always saw, whether it was on my channel or here on 3 Point Weekly, was people making the argument that they needed to spend money. And it's like, well, sure they could have, but otherwise they just would have had to pay the league. But two, just because they had to spend money doesn't mean they had to give out multi-year deals to dudes and give them absolute bags. Like, there was much, much better ways to pay dudes. Like, you don't have to give Dylan Brooks a 4-year deal. No one, like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to give Jock Landale a 4-year deal, although that one's not bad because only your first year's guaranteed. But still,
that is the definition of coping. Like, you know, your front office fucked up.
Like,
you know
bro,
that is.
It could have just been a 2-year deal, bro. Like,
or a 1+1 or something.
Dude,
like just give Fred 40 for 1 year or something like that. Like if you do that, okay, that's fine. You spent your money. Or do what OKC does. They just go trade for old guys on big contracts that they're gonna flip eventually. Like just do that. That makes a lot more sense than going and giving Dylan Brooks a 4-year, $86 million contract or Fred VanVleet 4 years, 133 or whatever it was. Like that makes way more sense than what they did this offseason.
It was crazy coping, bro. I'm like convinced. It's pretty much well known. Like, dude, if you give a negative take on any team, their whole fan base is just like it's being a fan, and I do respect it to an extent because like some of these fans that just some fans for real have these innately positive outlooks, and being as a Raptors fan, the guys that are like Devin was talking about earlier. This is a 46-win team. Pascal's going to bounce back. Scotty's going to become the point guard of the future. Like, it's all going to work out and be freaking kumbaya. Y'all, let's be realistic here. No, the fuck it is not. Like, it's done. It's cooked. It's over. Whatever you want to say. But every team's fan base, like, if you're like, they need to rebuild, bro, fans are scared as fuck to rebuild. It's gonna be okay. It's going to be okay. And I've even seen this as like casual hometown fans, like being in Cincy. When you talk about like the Bengals or the Reds, and it's like, why are the Bengals terrible? And it's like, bro, so we can get a good pick, so that way we can get better in the future. And where are we at now? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and now we're nice. Do we get there if we don't get the number 1 pick for Joe and the number 5 pick for Jamar? No, we don't. You gotta be bad so you can be good. But if you're always average, you get nowhere. You fans might be sent home happy on some, oh, we'll get a next year. We won 42 games. Maybe we'll jump into contendership and a sign will start here. Buddy, when's the last time a big free agent signed with Houston? Traded for James Harden. Traded for Dwight Howard. I think you could correct me on that. Traded for Chris Paul. Traded for Russell Westbrook. Buddy, nobody's signing there. That's huge.
Then when
anyways now.
If you're not a Lakers fan, if you're not a Lakers fan or a Warriors fan or a Clippers fan or one of those big market franchises, listen, top free agents are not signing there. It's okay. Build through the draft. Get a high pick.
Really, if you're not a Laker fan, just throw it out the window, bro. like honestly, like you're probably not getting the big names anyways.
I mean, the Clippers, they signed Kawhi straight up, and Paul George basically forced his way there. So like that's
rare.
Miami's been lucky with that too. Like Shaq got his way there. Like obviously LeBron and Bosh signed there. It was a sign and trade, but like
that was also a decade ago.
I could care less, but
that was a decade ago.
That's the biggest signing they've had in the past 20 years, probably.
Probably the biggest signing since like I don't know. Did they sign Charles Barkley? like was that a big signing back then? I don't know.
I don't remember, but
That's
yeah,
definitely a
probably
big
something in
signing,
the
bro. He was
90s.
like 2 years off of an MVP season. Come on.
Okay, yeah, I don't really remember when he got there. I'm not a
I think they
historian.
signed Scottie Pippen like fresh off the Last Dance, but Scottie was kind of washed by then. I'm not gonna lie.
He wasn't washed, but he wasn't like
Come
He
on,
wasn't
all
some
NBA
superstar.
Scotty. Yeah. I'll give Bulls fans credit though, because they're one fan base that like would probably want a true rebuild more than anybody, but their organization has been committed to being mid for like ever. So
Yeah.
shout to the
Yeah,
fan bases that are
Bulls are low
realistic.
key a W fan base. I mess with the Bulls fan base for being realistic. Like they'll call their front office out when they're doing some BS.
I
Like
haven't met a bad Bulls fan, to be honest.
Raptors fans are afraid to call out Masai for this tomfoolery, bro. Like
Then
there's some
Rockets
W
fans are
fan
just
Raptors fans are terrible on Twitter.
Rockets
bad.
fans. Rockets are an L fan base. Raptors are, I hate to say, an L fan base. I'm gonna have to. Lakers are definitely just an L fan base by default. If you
all
have the biggest
around.
fan base, there's L fans. Knicks fans are W fans. I don't care.
I like Knicks
Sometimes
fans.
the bias shows through, but like I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't see that many Knicks fans saying outlandish things when they like were down, like the year in between, like the bad year of the past 3. Like they were not
Maybe
trying to talk themselves about some crazy stuff, but
maybe just
yeah,
some Julius
they're very
Randle
cool,
distaste, but that's about it.
which was warranted, very warranted.
Everybody was down on Julius that year. It's fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fan bases I don't know nobody. Like I've never met a Bucks fan in my life.
I'm starting to really dislike Heat fans on Twitter. Really.
Dang, I'm telling Trent.
I don't. I don't mind.
Trent's
Knicks
actually
fans.
Trent's very unbiased. He's unbiased in my opinion, from what I've
He's
seen.
almost more unbiased because he's a bigger Westbrook. He's been a Westbrook fan longer than he is a Heat fan.
It's mainly
Like,
the
his
Twitter.
bias shows through in the
Yeah.
Westbrook.
It's mainly Heat Twitter, and it's because Heat Twitter and Celtics Twitter just really just dislike each other. And I also don't like Celtics fans as much, bro, because we have a very poor fan base as well. But they just be going back and forth, and I'm like, bro, we both didn't win last year. It's okay. We both lost eventually.
Fan base I turned around on. Utah might be a W fan base these days. They booed Karl Malone. They booed Karl Malone in Salt Lake. That's
They booed John Stockton.
I don't know if John Stockton was there because it was like a UFC fight or something. But they
Okay.
booed Karl Malone.
That's a W fan base.
Swiss. Any fan base that
Making
boos
up
Karl
for that.
Malone,
Even
you're
though-
my good grace.
Still, yes to this day, to meet a Utah Jazz fan. Still haven't. I don't know if they exist for real.
Yeah, I don't know if I
I
have
think-
either. I've met one Bucks fan, but I don't think I've met a Jazz fan.
I'm gonna
I have a
say,
friend that's a Bucks
Dallas is a W fan base because Knight Triker is a goat. That's what my guy. Knight
Dallas?
Striker is.
I follow a couple people from Mavs Twitter, and they're funny. They're funny people, and they're realistic too. Like they hate Jason Kidd,
Bro, L fan
and
base.
and they don't like the White Power either. So those are my guys.
Oh,
I rock with them.
W's. L fan base. I hate to say it, bro. The Timberwolves might have an L fan base. I'm not gonna lie. Just because, and
Cannot
it
confirm nor deny.
might be because of Jelson, but I feel like I've never heard an unbiased Timberwolves take in my entire life.
I don't think I have either, but I think it's funny at the same time.
It is funny. I don't mind it. Maybe if they
Yeah.
were good, it would annoy me, but they're not good enough for it to annoy me yet.
I used to have very
And I like
similar
Timberwolves.
takes. I had very similar takes on like Timberwolves fans and Thunder fans. But I feel like these days it's not even Thunder fans that overrate Shea. I just feel like it's just
not.
like
It's
random
not.
hype beast on Twitter, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen so many OKC fans over the last little bit, whether it be Shea takes or whether it be like their seeding takes, where it's like, yeah, we're going to be a 10 seed, or I'm worried we're not even going to make the postseason next year. And it's the non-OKC fans that are pumping Shea up. It's really weird.
Yeah. To where Shea's overrated now. I actually hate the term overrated so much. I try not to use it in basketball context.
there's
How
some
can somebody
guys that are
truly-
overrated, but I don't know. Like
So,
most of the guys, I couldn't even think of a good name because there's not that many guys. Because I feel like most guys that get called overrated,
who's overrating them though? Like,
they get so much hate. Like it's guys like people say like, oh, like Dylan Brooks is so overrated. Patrick Beverly, Draymond Green is so overrated. They're some of the most
So
hated on players in the league.
even
How are
like
you
people,
overrated? If
people
you
would
get that
say,
hated? People think you're
people
a
would say
bum.
Rudy Gobert's overrated. Like nobody really likes Rudy
No,
that
I think
much.
he's underrated at this point.
Yeah, and like who's
Yeah, I
gassing
don't know.
Rudy up that much?
I had this conversation with I think like Steph and Jay or somebody. Devin, I don't know if you were there or not, but it was basically about like they'll call some players bums, and it has no effect on where they actually rank them as a league, like in the league. Like they still think like Rudy Gobert is like the fifth or sixth best center in basketball, but it's like they still are just gonna call him a bum just to talk shit. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like troll takes to an extent where it's like I don't know if people actually are hating on this person saying they're worse than they are, or if it's just a fun bit because their game is just like what it is. So it's a
I'll
weird
say
scenario, but I feel like most of the players who get called overrated are usually not overrated because they get so much hate. To me, the overrated players are like Drew Holiday before this postseason. Like people were still very high on Drew Holiday, and his offensive game went down every year significantly in the playoffs. And we can see his defense was not as impactful as it usually was. Now, he got a lot of that well warranted criticism this time around. And so to this point, I think now people are kind of coming around to the fact that he's not like 2018 Drew Holiday that completely shut down Dame for a playoff series. But there's a lot less guys that are overrated than we think.
that's probably the most fair overrated take I think I've ever heard in basketball. Because the other ones are like Shea's overrated, or Devin Booker's overrated, or so and so's overrated. Like who's like nobody's overrating these guys because it seems like the consensus is people dislike him. Like Book, people hate Book. How is he overrated? It just doesn't make sense. But the Drew take, that's fair. That's valid.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that Devin Booker was overrated before the Suns were winning shit. And they started winning shit. All of a sudden, that just went away. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
always
don't
fun
know.
how that works. Just the young scoring guards. That's what I expect to happen with Jalen Green too. I expect that to be the same thing. I don't know if Houston will be quite as successful as Phoenix were unless they make a move, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the same thing.
Yeah, plus there's always the takes of like the overpaid guys. Like, you'll probably see the term Jalen Brown overrated so much over the next year because he currently has the biggest deal. But logically thinking, like, who has Jalen Brown over like top 15 range? And like fringe top 15 guy, like top 20 level guy. Like I feel like pretty much
I
everybody has
mean,
him around there. Nobody has him as top.
y'all just said y'all would have him as like the fourth best shooting guard. Like, like nobody's really overrating JB. Overpaid,
Right.
that's a different conversation.
I see a lot of OG overrated agendas these days too. And it's like at this point, it's gotten to the point for me where so many people call OG overrated that I don't think he's overrated by anybody except Toronto's front office. And to me, that's overvalued more than overrated.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, it's two very different things. The construedness of values with rating and contracts with rating is just it construes things way too much. I mean, that was like Tobias Harris was the guy that always irked me forever. Was that he was a guy who was called overrated, but it's like, is he, or do you just not like the fact he got a max deal? Because those are two very different things. And for the most part, it was just the fact that he got a max deal. And no one was saying that Tobias Harris was a max level player. They just didn't think he deserved a max contract.
Yeah, I mean, there's some
Exactly.
takes like you could say like I overrate Tyrese Halliburton. You could go ahead and say that, but I mean like, and if that's something if that's the argument you want to make, that's more of like a rating thing. Like I have him like 5+ spots in the positional list higher than you guys do. I probably think that Trae Young is a little bit overrated, but like I'm once again just one guy. I don't think he's across the board overrated by any stretch because he's once again a player who does get a fair amount of criticism. So while I am one of those critics, I can't call him overrated because I have him lower on my list, but I don't think that's consensus enough, especially seen by the difference in your guys' take that it's like, nah, he's definitely consensus. I think pretty consistently rated between like the 5 to 7 range of top point guards, which is where I think is probably where he sits. I'm a little bit low on him right now, but a 5 to 7 range argument is definitely a very fair argument for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, he's the type of guy, especially after last year, where he could move up a couple spots within a month. Like, so, and there's so many guys like that, right? I mean, like, that's the thing with the beauty of the off season is they'll have some recency bias, and some guys will get forgotten about, and then you'll get some jumps a month into the season, and everything changes. It's just the lovely world of the off season of the NBA, and the off season of NBA Twitter is some wild things get said or some wild things get overreacted to, and it's just like it's all going to change in a month into the season, anyways.
Insane. Yeah. Using contracts though to say, I agree, Garrett. Like the Ben Simmons point is perfect. Like he got that big bag a few years ago, and now he is what he is. So it's like, is he overrated? No, nobody's rating Ben Simmons high right now. He's definitely overpaid for his value, for his production, but you know, I just hope that becomes understood. Yeah, I haven't. I'm still a Ben. Do I want to say believer? I'll say I'm still a Ben believer.
I'm a Ben hopeful.
I kind of do. Yeah,
I don't believe between like. Yeah, facts.
It would be cool, like a Brooklyn roster where it's like him, Mikal, Nick Claxton, and like Cam Johnson. Like if they just all were hooping, like
it's a fun team.
That's a fun team, bro. Like Ben Simmons just playing the rock out to those guys. Like that's a real fun team. I don't think he's that guy anymore, but like if he was that guy and proved himself to be that guy, I'm rocking with it. He was a very fun player to watch because me personally, I'm always a fan of players that play a very unorthodox style. Like so many guys just play the exact same modern NBA game. Like you think like the modern 3-and-D wing, like 80% of these guys play damn near the exact same. Guys that actually have just a very unique play style. So I gravitate to guys like Giannis. Like his game makes no sense in 2023, but it works so well. Steph Curry, he plays off ball in a system where in a league where so many of the top guys are guys who just dominate the ball the whole game. And for Steph Curry to come out and be like such an off ball presence, like to me, that's huge. I'm a DeMar DeRozan fan. He's a guy who works more inside the 3-point line as like who I traditionally consider as a shooting guard, but more of a small forward today. It's very unorthodox for today's game. And so a lot of those guys are guys that I more gravitate to. So if Ben Simmons were to pop off, I would really enjoy watching that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean that's my type of team in a nutshell right there. You give me Simmons on the defensive end, Claxton on the defensive end, Cam Bridges on the defensive end, and that trio, already you're a top 5 defense. Like whether it's Cam Johnson, whether it's Spencer Dinwiddie, whether it's whoever else you throw out there, like Dorian Finney-Smith is still going to get valuable minutes. Like that's a really good defensive team.
Offense, Jacque Vaughn's a good coach too.
We'll see. Jacque Vaughn is a good coach. He's been underrated. I've really liked him as a coach long before he got a chance in Brooklyn. I'm glad he's got another opportunity because he's done a really good job there.
When he was their interim guy, he did a good job too. Like, wasn't he the interim? And then they like hired Steve Nash and like demoted. Like, well, they should have just had him there from the get go because he's a good coach. Like, I don't know why he didn't get that chance just from the jump. Garrett said in chat, did y'all see Asia Wilson tied the WNBA points record? Will Chamberlain moment, I guess. That's a W. I've heard real good things about it. She plays for the Aces, right? I've heard they're like super team.
She's a bucket. Liberty better, but not Asia's.
I'm a super casual when it comes to WNBA. I know less WNBA than probably like baseball. It's pretty close actually because I know nothing about baseball. But
it's my first.
Team, bro, Sabrina coming into the WNBA was really my first exposure to it. Mm-hmm. It's like the stat lines that she puts up with like her triple doubles and stuff. I'm like, dude, she's kind of like reinventing the game almost over there. So I mess with her.
She's like Asia's like Asia's different though. Like she's damn near been like the best player in the league since Denver. I think her rookie year, bro. Like she's different. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's stuff you don't see no more, bro. Like that's back when like isn't there only like one rookie? Is Wes Unseld the only rookie to win MVP?
I don't know if he's the only. Garrett could probably answer that.
Garrett
That's
probably
the
Yeah,
would.
thing.
I would know.
But I mean, guys like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem came in. Yeah, like apparently Wilt did. Guys like Wilt and Kareem came in and like literally like day one were like some of the best players in the
Will
NBA.
did
But
too.
like you really don't see that in basketball anymore. You see guys like Luca year 2 was like literally an all NBA first team guy, but he was
He was
not
really good year one.
he was not one of the best players in the league year 1. He was just one of the best rookie year 1. So
It's tough because like the talent level is already so high. Not just in the NBA, but just like basketball in general. Like the talent level is so high on like all levels. Even women's basketball. So like that's super impressive that like she was able to come in the league and be that elite for real.
I mean, literally in the NBA, every roster has good players at this point. Like take the worst roster in the league. There's still guys that are getting touches. There's not really a team who you can come into. Like you think like situations like Jahlil Okafor and the Sixers, right? Like he came into that team. Jahlil Okafor was never going to be a star in the NBA just because the direction the game went, his defensive ability as a center, like it wasn't going to work out. But you don't really get situations like that anymore where a guy comes into a team like that and just has free reign because there's not shit else happening. Like he just could do whatever he wanted until he was able to put up really good numbers as a rookie. This year, like a guy like Victor's coming on to the Spurs, and they were a bad team, don't get me wrong, but like there's
talent,
good pieces on that team. They got Devin Vassell, they got Keldon Johnson, they got Jeremy Sohan. Like they got some guys who are going to take some touches.
Yep. So I mean, people think he's about to come in and like be like 23 and 10 off rip. If he does that, that's great. But talent levels on his team is already like solid enough to where guys are going to need their touches too. And then the talent level around the rest of the league is good enough to where it's going to be some tough nights at that 4 or 5 position, whichever one he's playing. So it's tough to come into the league and be that good right away. Like even LeBron kind of had like free reign, and he was like a 20, like 6-6 guy, which is super elite for a rookie. But you know, it's not like what people in the 80s like Jordan was doing, or you know, other guys like their rookie years, like putting up like
Magic
25
Johnson as a rookie,
Magic,
the Finals MVP, like.
And I will say that's because those guys were that good, but it's also because talent level around the league was not as elite as it is today.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like. That's one of the arguments. Go ahead.
Yeah, for the most part, they were coming into the league a few more years experience. They're more physically mature as well, which definitely helped. A lot of these guys were coming in at 21, 22, 23 compared to 18 and 19 for a lot of these dudes now.
It's different, that's like man.
The main, like expansion. Like you almost need an NBA expansion at this point because every team for real is so talented. Like you see, and you just look at guys like a Mikal Bridges who like they kind of got their own team and like just how they exploded and they're just being. We knew like Mikal Bridges was a very good player, but now you see, oh damn, like he's a star. How many other high value starters? Like you think if they were given that opportunity, or just new guys that would come into the league would just be able to just do so much with a new opportunity if there was an NBA expansion. If Seattle comes back, if Vegas gets a team, like St. Louis, wherever the hell, like if they just put in a couple new teams out there, like dude, that would be a lot of just fun basketball and a lot of fun, surprising breakout players. I guess when I do most improved like player predictions, I'd probably just pick a player on an expansion team every year.
That'd be a fun topic is like predicting next Mikal Bridges. Like if they got their own situation, like it would just shock everybody because I don't think anybody saw what Mikal Bridges was doing in Brooklyn. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
What he was doing as a creator was really the main thing. Like we knew he was a good player on both sides of the ball, efficient offensive player, great defender, but him just taking that leap as a creator was wild.
Even in the games where like Book was out, Chris Paul was out, it was like just him and Ayton. He was not doing that. Like he wasn't. A lot of the offense was being ran through like Dwayne Washington when he was there, and I think his campaign was in the lineup. Like Mikal was just kind of still doing what he usually would do with Chris Paul out there and Devin Booker. But when he got to Brooklyn, that was just like a totally different basketball player.
Yeah, it really was. I haven't seen your video yet, Garrett. I know it's on my my list of things to watch tonight, but 1v1 blindfolded is crazy. It's a crazy challenge.
Hey, bro, just wait for the Tyrik and Gabe 1v1, man. I'm just saying, bro.
You calling me out, or are you saying with Garrett?
Hey, listen. Whoever wants to smoke can get the smoke, man. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I've never been Reek's opposition on the basketball court, man. We've been on the same team before. Actually, I might have been on the opposite team as you a couple times because there was a couple times we did. Right?
Yeah,
but
once.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just entering my prime, bro. I'm grabbing rim these days, bro.
I'm washed. You might.
I don't know if Reek's grabbing rim, bro. I might be dunking soon.
I wasn't grabbing rim on my best day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no shot.
To be fair, I do have a good 6-inch advantage on both you guys.
Pause. Hey yo.
Play.
Hey yo. Yeah, in my best, I was smacking glass, and that was I was happy with that.
Yeah, I feel you. I remember it was grade 8. And my coach was telling me that I should start being able to do that, and then I never grew. That was the end of that.
Yeah,
peaked at 5'7" in grade 8, and that was it.
Dude, yeah, I didn't think I could touch rim because the shoes I was wearing, right? I've been hooping in Trey 1s forever, which is kind of hilarious because I'm low on Trey Young as a player, but. I was hooping in Trey 1s forever. And, bro, those shoes are so heavy that I just did not jump as high.
They look heavy.
They're just heavy-ass shoes. And I think, low-key, Adidas shoes are all kind of a little heavy. When I had, Don ones, they were a little heavy. And
Did you ever have Hardens?
I had some Harden ones, which kind of was just a shit hoop shoe in general. I did not like playing in those at all.
Wow. Interesting.
The newer Hardens look a lot more like a traditional basketball shoe. If you go back and look at the Harden 1, dude, that's a terrible basketball shoe. I wore it to school and stuff because I went through that phase where I would wear basketball shoes to school and just
we all went through that phase.
Yeah, but it was not a good shoe to play in at all. That was I got those shoes and I just kept playing in my Kyrie 2s. But anyways, one day. I just went to the gym to hoop with some of my guys, and they had I don't even remember why I didn't have my basketball shoes on me. Maybe I was just feeling lazy. I walked out the door. I was just wearing whatever shoes I was wearing. It was just some Nike Pegasus, just some running shoes, just some regular light low shoes to walk around in. Bro, I go to grab the rim. I wasn't even hardly touching. I maybe would get a fingertip on it in the trays. Bruh, I was grabbing the bitch. I was yo, I got hops like this. Bruh, I started doing some box jumps. Not that box jumps is equivalent to vertical, but bruh, I was knocking out 40-inch standing box jumps. I'm when the fuck did I get hops like this, bruh? Came out of nowhere, bruh. It was that and just wearing lighter shoes. Now I'm dude, I'm wearing light shoes anytime I ever step on a basketball court now.
Got to, man. I only that's why Kyrie loves the best basketball shoes of all time, and the traction is amazing on them. I can't do a heavy shoe at all. LeBron can never wear LeBrons.
I had LeBron 14s, dude. I freaking was nailed to the ground.
Even how KDs are made nowadays, I feel they're a little too heavy. I'm a Kyrie guy, man. I'm gonna have to see if his shoes are still sold on the internet somewhere.
PG got nice shoes too. Nike's just fine. Between PG and Giannis,
I was like kind of up and down like the Freak ones, but some of Giannis's newer shoes I really mess with.
I'm about to get. I heard the Freak ones were like good. I never had a pair. My next cop is probably gonna be Sabrina shoes, though. To be honest, those are like the type of hoop shoe I would like.
Not a bad pickup. Not a bad pickup. Didn't somebody just debut? I feel like somebody else just debuted a new shoe as well.
Tatum did, I think.
Yeah, Tatum. Yeah, the Tatum one.
Yeah. Jordan shoes are just ugly, like player editions. They suck.
There's never been a good dude.
I don't know about performance. They might be good on the court, but look wise, they suck.
Jordan's outside of like shoes that released while Michael Jordan was in the NBA.
Chris Paul had some good ones. That's when Jordan actually cared about how they looked. But that was my go-to hoop shoes before like Kyrie.
Dude, I was weirdly high on. I think they were like the Jordan like 31s or like something random as fuck. I never got any.
The Westbrook ones that he used to wear?
Nah, bro. It was just like the Jordan 31s.
I feel like Westbrook had a player edition with those, I think.
He might have, but Westbrook also had like the why nots and all. He had like his own shoes.
Yeah.
But like there was literally like one pair of Jordans in the super high numbers that I was like, oh, that's a good shoe. But besides that, it was like anything between like whatever is like 14 or 15 or whatever, or whichever like was like the last ones before you retired.
15 of them just suck.
Yeah, it's just like, dude.
Look wise, they just
I still think peak. I still think Jordan's peak is like 4 and 11.
I go 4s. 11's like a popular pick. Yeah.
I mean, ones are obviously iconic, but 4s are so nice, dude. Pure money 4s were some shoes that I wanted forever, but I was in high school and broke, so I never got them.
I bought one pair of 4s and I actually just recently sold them because I don't wear shoes anymore. So
the only pair of Jordans I own is some Pollen 1s, and I wore them to a Steelers game in Pittsburgh, and I'm not even a Steelers fan, but I was getting a bunch of compliments.
Fuck it. Yeah, they're just too expensive these days to be dropping money on them, bro. Resale prices are insane.
Culture, bro. Like that was one of like the newest pairs when I was like in the market for some, and I had never had a pair of Jordans before, and I was like,
so you're just like, I need some.
Yeah, I was like, I need some Jordans, and I was like, what's the color shoe I don't have? And I'm like, dude, the black and yellow colorway, like even though it's kind of like heresy because I'm from Cincinnati. Like it was some nice colors, so I was like, man, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. And to their credit, there's some nice shoes. I'll probably end up selling them at some point because, like, bro, I don't ever wear them because these Columbus streets are not clean enough for me to be wearing shoes like that outside in broad daylight, bro. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to get them messed up.
That's facts. I do need to get some new hoop shoes, though. My Kyries are burned.
The trays are coming apart. The trays are coming apart. I might need some like PG5s or whatever the newest one is. So I had some PG 2.5
already.
Dude, I had some PG 2.5s back in the day, and that's also one of my favorite shoes to hoop in. Fire shoe.
Never owned a pair of PGs, but I wanted the ones. I wanted those badly. Never got
this dude Garrett said the Rose 773. Bruh.
I heard. I had some friends that used to hoop in those, and like they would wear those religiously. I wanted the ones from like 2010, the Addy Zeros. I wanted those so bad when I was a kid. My dad would not get them for me. Still remember that, Pops. Came in the event.
Dude, I wanted some D Roses. I think for a second I wanted some John Walls. There was one pair of Currys I really liked that were like kind of recent.
I like the low Curry ones. Those were hard. The low Curry ones were tough. I don't like the high top Currys though. They were too heavy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what Currys I had. I always wore high top stuff because, man, my ankles were too trippy to ever trust a low top. Not that it does a ton in the world, but it was that or I threw a big ankle tensor on my ankle. And once you get a basketball sock on, an ankle tensor, and then the basketball shoe tied around, would be way too much around your foot sometimes. So,
Bro, my ankles were, well, they still are bad, but they were bad back like when I was hooping all the time. But I found in low tops, like I didn't roll my ankle nearly as much as like higher top shoes.
Bro, if you go look at the Curry Flow 10 Splash Party, that's the shoe, bro. That might be my next basketball shoe. I really fuck with that shoe. And I think it's because it kind of looks like a Pegasus or like an Ultra Boost. It's like the shoes that I just wear in my everyday life, but as a basketball shoe. But that shoe, bro, like that might be next up for me. I need to get out of college, so I have a little bit of extra money to be dishing out on things like that. The trades will get me through to December, man, but I got about 117 days now till I got this degree, so we good.
Need that real money to start dropping on just random shoes.
I need my max contract, bro.
Real talk. Hey, Google's making me like prove I'm not a robot. Just look at some shoes.
Bro, why does some of them like prove you're not a robots? Like they're just so difficult for no reason. There's some that I actually fail.
Nah, these are actually nice.
Like, bro, it'd be like type in the letters that you see below, and it's like a bunch of like hieroglyphics, dog. I'm like, what am I looking at?
Literally, though, it's outrageous. Or then you'll get the ones sometimes now where it's like find the bikes or the boats or whatever, but you have to do like 8 of them.
That's what the one just was. I had to fill out 3 of them. Like, bro, why?
Click done when there's no more left. Like, bro.
Yeah, that shit gets so annoying.
These are tight, Gabe. I fuck with these.
I'm telling you, bro. The Curry 10, dog, like, I mess with it. I was a high top guy for a little bit, but recently, like, lows have caught my attention way more. Just because of twisted ankles and shit, but, like, I don't know. Recently, like, as I've grown into my body a little bit more and got in better shape, I can mess with some lows.
I think I had the Kyrie 4s, the black and white ones. I think I rolled my ankle like every time I ever wore those, bro.
My 10 Kyrie high tops will live in legend, bro.
The Kyrie 2s, those hit the streets like crack. Everybody was hooping those.
The Kyrie 2s, bro, I got them at an outlet mall. That's how you know they had wide circulation. Because usually, like, bro, the outlet malls, they just be having, like, the most random shoes. Like, the Premier stuff, you have to go online.
They used to have just, like, hyper dunks and hyper ribs and stuff like that.
Stuff that you wear with the bright neon.
Jordan 30s. Jordan 30s.
They'd be like, we got Jordans in here. Oh, they're Jordan 28s. Fuck, I don't like.
Or Mellows.
No, Westbrook, why not 0.1? Like, if you don't get out of here.
They'd have the craziest shit. I don't think I got the shoe from an outlet, like, probably since, like, 2012 or 2013 or something.
I have, but not basketball shoes, bro. Like, if I get a shoe from...
Capping, that's where I got my Kyries from. It was an outlet mall.
That's crazy. That's
2019,
crazy,
man, on the way back from New York.
I don't even know what the last
purchase of my life.
I definitely bought like some Crocs and shit at like an outlet mall just because it's cheap.
I bought some Dunks for my birthday this past year. And I wore them like 3 times and sold them.
I got Crocs, but I don't even be wearing them, dog. I wear my Birks everywhere if I can. If I'm not walking far or walking a lot, the Birks are coming out.
Still a Nike slide guy. Keeping the trend going.
I'd still be wearing my same pair of Sanooks from like 8-10 years ago.
Those feet just did not grow at all.
Really though, like it was like grade 6, grade 7. I put on like 10 inches and 50 pounds in 12 months, and that was it. It's like, and I grew about 5, and I grew about 5 shoe sizes, and that was it. And I was done. I think I put on an inch in the shoe size and 10 pounds, and that was it after that.
Honestly, that makes sense because even at this point, like I've been about like a size like 12, 13 shoe since about my freshman year in high school. And at this point, that's like 7 or 8 years ago for me. And so for y'all saying like 8 to 10, like, okay.
Almost 10.
Yeah.
I think next year makes it 10.
Y'all some old heads,
for real,
bro.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, literally, this time next year we're making 10 years since I started high school. That's insane.
Yeah, that's
Bro, you were what? Class of 2018?
Yeah.
Woo.
A 10-year anniversary coming up.
I hate how time flies, man.
yeah,
You
no,
start
it's
thinking about
crazy.
buying a mortgage at this point, to that age.
A mortgage, brother. He needs to start worrying about a family, dog. This is what we said to Jay. Like, bro,
They
go
gonna be
start a
saying,
family.
they'll be saying, bro, you pushing 30, man. Come on now. We'll be saying that soon. As soon as we hit 25. Like, man, y'all pushing 30 now.
That's okay, bro. I'm once I graduate, I'm on trophy husband watch. Just it's
Probably not
time.
even like 20.
Yeah, I'll be. Hey, bro, relax. I'm 21 in a month and a half. Excuse you.
Gabe's always 19. He's like Tatum.
Facts.
Bro, I'll never
I
forget, bro.
still think bro's 19, to be honest.
Bro, I was really 19 when I met Reek. I was 18 when I met Reek, but I turned 19 not too long after. It's just 19 for 18 years, bro.
Bro, he was 19 for like 2 years, bro.
That was a long year, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, bro, I feel like my sophomore year at college was long as hell. Like junior year did not feel that long. Junior year was like the first half was like terrible, but there was so much happening that low-key went quick. And then the second half was real good, so the fun times fly. So like it low-key just blew by out of nowhere.
I feel like everything in life just like goes by quick now. I don't know why, but
Yeah, we're kind of at that point. Like even now, like I'm only 3.5 months removed from being in school now that I'm on this internship, and school just feels like it was so long ago. It was 3.5 months ago. Like it's so
Dude,
weird.
bro,
high
like
school
once you
feels
just
like
start working,
years ago.
once you just start working every day, it's just like the days just blend together.
For real though.
That was the summer, bro. The summer started and ended instantly. I don't feel like
That's
the summer
happening.
was a long period of time at all. Like I went back to hometown for summer and then I came back.
Time's not real, bro. I'm telling you.
I went to work, went to the gym and came back, bro. And today, I'm not gonna lie, I went to class, I went to the gym, I ran a couple errands and I came home. So it's still just the only
Back
thing
to the
that extends
podcast.
the days, is for real, like the fact that I'll be having these late streams like 4 days a week. But
This is the latest I ever stay up these days, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I feel that, especially now the last couple of weeks. That 6 a.m. hit the road is a way to start the day, to say the least.
My goodness. I'm used to it though. It's just like, damn, like that 6 a.m. alarm is coming soon.
Yeah,
Looking at the clock.
I haven't streamed yesterday, like went to bed late enough, but I had a smooth 8 a.m. wake up to go to my 9:35 class, so it was cool. I don't think tomorrow I got class till like damn near noon, so I'm gonna keep chilling. But bro, I don't know, bro. This class schedule, I'm like, What I did figure out, bro. My Tuesday Thursday class, I went in today. He said, yeah. So because I'm like taking care of a family member right now, I'm not going to be available on Thursdays. So apparently, the only day we actually have to be in class is on Tuesdays. And I already did not have class on Fridays. So
Clutch.
this semester, I have class Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then I'm done.
That is clutch.
That's about
So
you.
I just got a 4-day weekend every weekend. Basically, I
Oh,
got
that's
more
sweet.
weekend than week.
Get some content
That's
going.
the dream right there.
Bro said get some content going. Bro, I feel
We
like
need
my
the
content,
WWE talk.
dude, I put way too much content on a weekly basis for it to not
I,
show my channel at all.
I respect it, man. I respect it.
Hey, nah, if you can make content for a literal NFL team and still draw videos, I can
I could drop some videos.
That's my first video in like 45 days, so you might be waiting another 45 days before another one drops.
Bro, I don't think I dropped a video in like 5 months.
Jesus, it's been that long.
My last video, I was here, and I just left for like 3 months.
You got 2 videos in it, right?
Yeah.
And he was on Mo's channel as a guest, right?
I was on Mo's channel as a guest. I've been on Garrett's channel as a guest.
So you'd be out there.
I was supposed to be on John's channel, but it fell through.
I was on John's channel twice, I think. If not over the summer, this year for sure.
He was doing like off-season previews for every team, so he was going to have me on for the Clippers because Devin was the Raptors guy. But because he like just went to like Vegas and stuff and had a bunch of everything going on, like we didn't end up getting around to it. So maybe I'll make an appearance on there. I don't know. You have to ask John about that. But hey, Garrett said, when am I going to be a guest on the GabeSlidIn channel, bro? Whenever I start making videos, bro. That's a great question. Maybe I'll get something in the works soon because it looks like I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands. But
the WWE content will hit. You said either that. Huh?
Well, I was gonna say we need to have some more people on this channel, bro. We got to do our nice little next draft here soon.
For sure. We'll definitely have to slide a draft before we get to the season.
Garrett and John are locks because we had them on and we said they'll be back.
Yes.
Just need, if we want a 6th guy, I mean, we can do that. If we just want to do 5, we can do that. That's 25 picks total.
We got to get a 3-point weekly lore legend, bro. We need like Meals or like G or somebody on here. There's people that we have talked about and like or have been in chat just in the peripheral.
I'm surprised Mills ain't popping into the chat for real.
You tell Meals to be on stream for the draft, bro. We need the Bulls bias in full effect.
God, he would be insane, bro. Oh my God. He's insane. Now Mills actually knows some stuff. He'll probably put the bias to the side for the 5.
Hey, we could have fun with it, bro. We could have a lot of fun with it. Big celebration, bro. Dude, if we should, bro, we're like a video drop or 2 away from 150 subs, man. 150 sub celebration, big draft.
For sure. We'll see how we want to do it. We can do a U25 draft. We could split off solo and like do a bunch of different expansion draft teams. We could do whatever we want. Definitely a few options.
U25 is like the damn near like the channel routine.
Dude, I wouldn't
Have
even.
we done 2 of those or just 1? I think we just did the 1 last time, right? Yeah. It feels like it's our 3rd for some reason. I don't know why.
Dude, I wouldn't mind at all just doing like a basketball fantasy draft and not like a, like fantasy league type thing, but like more so like, when you start a My League and you just like randomize the players on every team, like I'm not mad at all if we just do a draft like that where you just any players available and it's just who can build the best team.
Don't hate that.
I could be down for that. Yes, Gary, you have first pick. Congrats.
Indeed have first pick. And I will indeed take my back-to-back last picks. I will happily sit at the caboose.
Hey, I got that in fantasy. I'm more than happy with the back-to-back last picks, man.
There's no tiebreakers or anything, bro, because like Devin's team went out first round, mine went out second round, Reeks went out in the conference finals,
and since the Celtics lasted longer in the conference finals than the Lakers, am I ahead of you?
You have it on. You're on ahead of John, I'd say.
That's a bet.
John's ahead of me. If that's at least 5, then if we get any more, I'm sorry, they might have to be the last pick, unless they're an actual fan of a team that went far. Like if we get a Heat fan on here, all right.
I think Dev can decide if Dev wants last pick, he can have last pick. If not, and other person can have last pick.
We know this guy loves his last picks. So.
I do like my back-to-back picks, and like, if Jacob gets in here, I'm taking that last pick. I don't care if he also lost in 5 with the T-Wolves. I'm
Timberwolves
taking that last
technically
pick.
were playing longer. I think they got eliminated a day later.
I think
Hey,
so.
and the Bucks' loss looked way worse. So Devin
This is
deserves the
true.
last pick.
Yes. Bucks
I
Denver got
did
swept, to be
flame
honest.
up worse.
The Bucks did dead wrong. They didn't even put up a fight, man.
Night Striker in there, and you won at the last.
Honestly, bro, the way the Bucks went out, it gives me PTSD, bro, from when I was playing Garrett in Jeopardy and Reek just kept going, "Fight, Gabe, fight, Gabe, please fight."
You need your get back, bro. I'm sorry, that was embarrassing, brother.
Hey, I do have one mini game win over Garrett to my name at least.
That's big. That's big. Never known Garrett to lose.
And it's because it was not trivia. It's because it was a debate, and I beat him in a debate.
Second week in a row, you brought this up. I'm gonna keep track and see if you bring it up again next week.
Bro said that wasn't even a mini game. It was sure for fucking key holder, buddy. He'll tell you he got screwed, bro. Garrett either wins or he'll tell you he got screwed. It goes one of two ways. I don't think he's ever accepted a loss clean in his life.
I don't know if either of you guys have been in stream both of the times I've won and got key holder. I know most.
I was key holder. You won one of my games.
Right. It was right. It was the time you did the draft, the lottery limbo, yeah. And then the second time it was just me, Moj, and Jacob, right?
Hey, every time I'm in stream, y'all don't win. Like, I'll be rooting for my 3-point weekly guys. Y'all don't win.
We need the re-guest appearance, bro. Come on. I don't know if we're allowed to do guest appearances, but
I mean we've talked about it, so
if we can,
I'll do. I'll take the invite, man. It's all my schedule's free.
Bro, if we need we got to do a 3v3 game, bro. Like me and Devin are about to be like, it's my trap card. Spawn the new teammate in. Tyrik comes in, bro. It's over.
Didn't we already sweep some buddies in the 3v3?
It was in Garrett's Family Feud, bro. We made quick work
of it. Sweep.
It was Jay, Trent, and John.
Yeah, we went down 2-0 and then reverse sweeped.
How had us nervous, I ain't gonna lie.
That was the one with the Kings where it was the all-star teammates of Fox, I think.
Bro, the crazy Zach Randolph.
Debo. Was that Gabe that pulled that?
No, it was Devin.
That was me.
Oh yeah. Debo. I think I said this quarter.
Yeah.
I said this quarter. I'm like, I know the other one. I was hoping you knew it.
Listen, Team Westbrook's their record's looking like Westbrook's actual finals record. That's all I'm gonna say. It's 0-1. All right.
Team Westbrook was a crazy name, to say the least.
John just rolled with it. Like he was dog shit on John's Lakers, but he's like, all right. The other two are the biggest Westbrook fans I've ever seen. But Team 3-Point Weekly never loses, man. Because there's one thing about us, we know hoops. Apparently to everybody except Rockets fans.
Not me and Dev, no, man.
It's great.
God, I've seen those comments. I'm like, man, y'all are this delusional, huh?
This Reek guy needs to stop talking, bro.
They probably thought that's why we took like 3 weeks off of posting content.
That is our last video out, bro. They booted us off the internet, bro.
We told these guys they ain't worth nothing.
Man, if I could make money every time told me that I didn't know what I was talking about or I should stop uploading content or
rich.
Man, I'd be balling. Like YouTube be giving me some money, but man, those comments be giving me money. Yeah.
I remember one video on my channel was like late 2021, and the Cavs started the season off really good, and I the title of my video was like I was wrong about the Cavs, and I was basically apologizing. And the Cavs fan was in the comments like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, bro, I'm literally like saying I didn't know what I was talking about. Like, you don't gotta tell me twice.
That's really when you watch the first 30 seconds of the video and you just leave a comment, bro. Like,
Literally, you just read
I
the
love when
title.
YouTubers do that. When YouTubers straight like, they're like, now before I get into this list or ranking, reminder, this is my opinion, and you're allowed to have a different one. So please let me know what your ranking is in the comments down below.
It's crazy because you really gotta say like something along those lines, though, because people really just like take rankings and stuff.
It's the nature of the game, bro. Like I said, fans, these people are fanatics, bro. Most of them are delusional.
That would be like us arguing last week, like me and Gabe arguing. Like, I got Trae Young high. Gabe's like, "Oh, you're an idiot," and he got Tyrese high. I'm like, "No, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about, dude." Like, no,
dude. If I was like half
we disagree,
fans,
but it's
I'd be sitting here talking to Reek like, bro, my Raptors are gonna be better than your Celtics, bro. Like, we have fucking Pascal Siakam. We're gonna be better. That's how Raptors fans act, bro.
Man, it's almost at the point now where I'm just so used to it, and I'm all for the engagement. Where like, if I can word something in a video that I know is just gonna make someone go to the comment section, it's like I'm just doing it, man. Like, I ain't about to bait you, but like I'm about to bait you.
It's nasty, and I love it.
Drop the name, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Never forget when Team Westbrook blew it. I've just seen that comment. That's funny. But yeah, I remember after the Sabonis and Tyrese trade, made a video about that. Kings fans were in the comments mad, like, "No, we did the right thing."
And I was a lot less critical on that trade of most people because I think we came on here and I was the least critical by far.
You definitely were.
Well, I literally said in my video, like, in the short term, it may be good, but long term, it might not be good. And that's to be seen. It may or may not be good long term.
Tyrese might be the GOAT, but the Kings are looking nice.
I mean, Tyrese might be a top 6 point guard, but De'Aaron's top 5. I guess.
I think I had De'Aaron at 7.
You had De'Aaron below Tyrese? Oh, my God.
You did. That's some crazy work.
Gabe is nuts. I didn't even peep that last week. Yeah, you're nuts, bro.
Yeah, because it would have been like Ja, Lucas, Steph, Dame, and SGA.
You can call me nuts all you want. I'll get the least hate comments, bro. I clearly know the most ball.
That's probably because
we haven't uploaded anything about it yet.
Here's the thing wait, buddy. Your time is on the way.
Nobody's giving me hate comments for that because, bro, all the Pacers fans are going to be like, "Yay, Tyrese! Yay!"
And all the
but you don't know how I'm titling it yet. That's the problem.
Tyrese Halliburton better than De'Aaron.
I'm about to title it "Tyrese Halliburton is the best guard in the Eastern Conference?" ? And all the Atlanta fans are going to come out of the woods.
Dude, Hawks fans, you might see some Knicks fans. You might see some Knicks fans pop out.
Knicks fans will be there for me, bro, because Knicks fans hate Trae Young too.
Yeah, but you got their boy ranked like lower than Trae Young. Did you have Brunson at like 9?
I feel like I had Brunson higher than some of y'all.
I think you had him above Trae.
No. That's
really hate Trae Young.
That's false. But I had Brunson at 9. I had Trae at 8.
Okay, see, that's what I figured. See, you had their boy at 9, bro. Jalen Brunson at 9, playoff riser.
Bro, Jalen Brunson is not better than any of the 8 guys above him. You guys think he's better than Tyrese, but
yes, I do.
That's some crazy.
This man loves Tyrese. I don't know where that love came from. Like, I don't even think you talked about him like that. Well, nah, that's a lie because you were the one pushing the All-Star agendas mainly on the podcast.
Push the All-Star agendas. I was less critical of the trade, bro. Like, come on.
This man's just been a Tyrese enjoyer since the Iowa State days.
What can I say, bro? Iowa State legends. I love it.
I love
You're
it.
probably watching him in EYBL for real.
Oh,
I don't even know if he played EYBL. I'm just talking.
hey, listen. He's just that guy. There's just some players that I just have an affinity for, bro.
I respect you.
Big fan, bro. Big stock buyer. There's players whose stocks you buy, and there's players whose stock you sell.
That was me with DeJounte his last year in San Antonio. Like, I feel like I came on the pod every week and said something about DeJounte positive.
There was
Gotta be a
definitely good couple
fanatic,
months
bro.
like that.
Gotta be a fanatic.
But
Oh,
now
that's gonna
Tyrik
be
is-
me this. That's gonna be me this year if OKC start the year 5-0. No one will hear the end of it.
Dude, I don't know. There's some players who I'll be real ready to
the
shut,
Magic.
bro. If the Suns start bad, I'm putting all of the blame on Bradley Beal and just this dude is ass. He fucking sucks.
It's crazy because Brad, when he was on the court last year, was actually pretty good. Like, he wasn't bad. He was actually very good.
If the Mavericks underperform again, brother, the Luka's not a winner allegations that I'll be pushing like crazy.
You know who I'm blaming? I don't care if he doesn't play a single minute. Dwight Powell's getting all the blame. He's back.
You're not blaming Jason Kidd, bro?
No, I'll be blaming Jason Kidd. That's my blame.
Yeah,
I'll be
I'll
saying
go
that
let
man's
Dad
a
do
bum
that.
and needs to leave Dallas expeditedly. That man needs to get out on the way to Mexico at this rate. Like,
To
There's no
Mexico.
shot.
Is he allowed to leave the country?
I don't know, but he's
I
gonna
don't
get
know.
chased out of Dallas. He better go somewhere.
Mexico, the border's a little too far from Dallas, man.
He ain't going up. We
He
ain't
might not
accepting
make
him
it.
up here.
This Jason Kidd is really like the Michael Carter Williams of head coaches. And he coached Michael Carter Williams, which is funnier. The Tyrik Evans of NBA coaches.
He made Giannis a star still.
He walks so Giannis can run.
Mike Budenholzer took the credit, bro. Mike Budenholzer is the Steve Kerr to Jason Kidd, Mark Jackson.
Oh,
Tell me
man.
when I'm telling lies.
Oh, man. No, you cooking. You cooking, man. Jason Kidd deserves a ring from Milwaukee. That's what I'm
He
hearing.
does, bro. He does. Dwayne Casey deserves a ring. Bro. Oh, my gosh. Devin really did the worm. Devin, bro, when are we getting another worm out of you, bro?
Jalen Brunson wasn't even top 8. Come on, Garrett.
We need some more
Don't push
dance moves. We need more dance moves out of Devin, bro.
Man, I don't even know what's gonna have to happen to get that out of me again. That was crazy.
My professor was giving crazy facts about his son today, bro. We had to do some icebreakers, and bro, he was really talking about how his son was a goalie, blocked a shot and did a Fortnite dance. Then listen, bro, in the icebreakers we were doing, we had to say something fun we did, right? So I was like, oh, like, bro, I went to SummerSlam up in Detroit, bro, big wrestling show. He was like, yeah, my 10-year-old son has dreams of being the world champion. I was like, oh, so do I. I'm afraid I got the first laugh out of the class, bro.
Hey,
I
man.
really did have the whole class laughing about 10 minutes in, bro. I felt like him for that. I'm like, man, I drew the first laugh of the semester. We're back.
Hey, man, you could pursue a WWE career at some point.
Oh, bro, come on. Me and AJ Styles are putting on a 5-star classic.
I think you got the mic skills.
Don't put me out there with Gunther, though, bro. I'll get fucked up.
Them chops. Chops are lethal.
It's
It's crazy. Gabe really started podcasting so he can get his mic skills together.
That's true, bro. I'm the next LA Knight, bro. This has all been working on my promos. Every time I come up to the mic like this and I just start saying some fucking crazy shit, bro, it's all to practice my promos.
Bro, I was weak when y'all was like talking about Clay and Gabe was just all up in the camera.
It's crazy.
Nah, bro, I was
What we
popping
doing,
off. I was getting unhinged last night because, bro, I've been washed. I low-key had a couple week stretch where, bro, I was not really producing any like TikTokable moments. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's just because the topics were nothing I was super like incredibly passionate about, but bro, That was
NBA
some of
dance
the
competition.
last night. So I had to get on him, man. I had to get on him. I was, bro, because last night, this is what was going on last night. I don't think you were in stream, but, bro, Justin was just chatting. Like, he was just saying shit. Like, none of it made any, like, Devin can attest to this, bro. He had so many takes last night that were just these baseless claims that just, I'm like, what are you talking about? So then when he was like, yeah, Clay's not even good anymore. Like, what?
Yeah,
Then I was
Clay
like, he's
good,
still a
crazy.
great. I said he's still a great catch and shoot player. And Justin was like, and I'm like, that's why I started freaking out, bro. I'm like, what?
He
do
shot
you
like
mean?
40% from three. Like,
He shot like 40. He shot 41%, bro. Like, what do you mean? Like, he can definitely be a good catch and shoot player. Why did Garrett
that whole Warriors segment was crazy.
Dude, we literally went
got
off
a little
like
Justin.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I love getting into side tangents that just go 20 minutes long. That's what I'm saying. We
did that shit earlier. Like, we started talking about Evan Mobley for like 30 minutes.
Bro, it was a shooting guard ranking, and we started talking about Donovan Mitchell, and then just got into 30 minutes of Cavs.
Evan fucking Mobley. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, I was concerned we weren't going to get to an hour on this podcast, and we've been talking about basketball mostly for 3 hours.
Yeah, if I've learned anything at this point, one way or another, we are never short on time.
Never. Like, I thought we was gonna do that when we got done ranking around like an hour and 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
If that, it might have been shorter time than that.
It might have been.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Reek, your audio quality just got way better 3 hours into the stream. I don't know what happened.
My AirPods died.
Your AirPods. Dang, that AirPod. I guess the MacBook mic is better than the AirPod mic, bro. I don't know.
It might be. I just be scared for like background noise and stuff, like
right
popping in. I need to get a new mic for sure. I just need to set the money aside to invest in a good one. I'm so cheap.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
I've got a pretty mid mic. My Blue Snowball was like $60, but I feel like it does pretty well. It's actually like for where I'm at right now. I used to have it like between my two monitors, so it'd be like directly to the right. So it'd be kind of close to like where I'm doing stuff. But now it's like between my monitor and my PC, so it's like over like here.
Right.
So it's like it's less like I don't know. I feel like the audio is not gonna like pick up as many like random things. It'll just be smoother.
Right. Yeah, no, that's still a solid mic for sure. I was rocking something similar to that for a while until I got this one, and now this one I'll use until whenever, which is why I got it, because I wasn't really about it just upgrading just to upgrade. I figure if I'm getting something, I'm going to get it and have it for a long time.
Arguing about Kevon Looney and the Warriors. It got toxic yesterday. Dude,
how are you arguing about Kevon?
The next time we get toxic on I got a little toxic on 3-Point Weekly when Reek came around on Curry last week. I'm not gonna lie. When Goat took back the number one spot on the list, bro, it really fed my soul.
I could sense this disappointment that I jumped ship.
Hey man,
I did not want to.
Actually,
it's okay. Yeah. I know where I stand. I got no problems being alone on my ship.
You're usually the one that is, man. Chris Middleton.
Yeah. Chris Middleton and Aaron Gordon for All-Star this year.
Dude, I need a real good Andrew Wiggins season. I miss being Andrew Wiggins' biggest fan.
Did you pick Andrew as an All-Star?
Yes.
That's actually insane.
I didn't pick him as a starter, though. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's just sad that like nobody was like we didn't have a fan base because that's like when we just started. Like, nobody's gonna remember those amazing pools like Andrew Wiggins, Chris Middleton.
That was like our first episode ever.
Yeah,
literally our first episode.
I know that's the nastiest episode on the internet.
I don't want to go back and watch our old. To be honest, like when I think of eras of the show, like I don't know, that first like half season, I don't know when we actually found a good flow. I know around that first off season, shit started getting really long.
I feel like
really,
last is when we got comfortable, like just talking and arguing with each other. But like definitely like this calendar year, I feel like is when we like actually okay.
when we started uploading clips,
Yeah, we're actually
started
decent
popping off.
podcasters.
For sure. Yeah, no, like there's definitely some stuff I'll have to go back and look through at some point from those first couple months. Where it's like there's probably some random clips in there that I can make a 30-second clip out of. This is some outrageous poll or comment or whatever.
Dude, probably like our very first stream, somebody said, Larry Markkinen will be an all-star in the next 3 seasons. Something just agreed with that came true.
It would be absurd. Nah, those first.
I didn't know this, Garrett. That's hilarious.
I forgot about that. That was so long ago, bro. Like, oh my goodness, that was
bro, I'll never forget. A couple of my friends would ask me, they're like, wait, is his name Reek or Rick?
I might need to like spell it out like in a parentheses, like Reek, like how Tyrik feels.
Because I don't know a lot of like other people whose name is spelled like yours. Like I've seen a bunch of Tyriks that are like Reek.
It's rare.
Like,
I've only ever seen like maybe 2 other people with my name spelled like this way.
I'm trying to think if there's any like famous people with your spelling.
Nah, not famous. There was a college basketball player that had the same spelling. That's the only person I knew that was like any type of notability.
When you think of college basketball players, so my name, specifically my last name, you do not get a good image. I'll tell you that.
You didn't have to say that, buddy. That's the day as a basketball fan to remember exactly what I was doing. Like
that's
all that,
bro.
We'll never forget that.
That's a weird legacy right there, man. That's my legacy apparently. That bro, is DeMarcus Ware in the Hall of Fame? I just know he was a good player in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got in a year or 2 ago.
I do remember that. I gotta go back and look at the teams from that draft, Garrett, because man, there were some crazy picks in that mug. There were some crazy picks, like just towards the end. I don't even remember who was. I think Jelson might have been in that. I don't even know who else.
Dude, Jelson 2 years ago would be so hilarious. Bro, be like freaking 16 years old.
Bro, a kid. For real.
Bro.
I forgot Hendo was in there. God, who else? Like, I don't think I knew Steph, Trent, Jay. I didn't know any of them. I don't even think they was in that.
I didn't know them till 2 months ago, bro. I met Jay doing Family Feud. That's technically where I met Trent, but he had been in our chat a couple of times.
I've been following Jay for a minute.
Yeah, that's how I was with Jay too. Jay was like one of the first guys. Like I didn't know him like that back then. He was one of the first guys who'd regularly be commenting on my YouTube videos way back in the day.
Does Courtside still make? I haven't seen like his name.
He deactivated from stuff. I was weird because I started a fantasy basketball league with him last year that he was hosting, and like a month or 2 into the season, I just like that was it.
He just fell off the face of the earth.
And it was another guy too. It was actually the Bucks fan that I know. It was probably 2 or 3 summers ago. I forget what his name of his channel was, but we were gonna do some. I forget exactly what it was, but we were gonna do some collection of videos comparing like the Bucks championship team to the Raptors championship team and do a whole breakdown on it. And yeah, like he blew up over the summer when free agency happened, and like they brought in Brook Lopez and a few other signings, and then hit 1,000 subs, and that's it. Never heard from the dude again.
Same, bro.
That's the old era, bro. That's before I came onto the scene, man.
I don't remember John being in that draft. I remember Price. I don't remember John being there. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Dang, courtside wants the 1v1 with Garrett. That's crazy.
Reek is out again.
He's out again, bro. Yeah, nah, I'm the new guy in town when it comes to the whole content game. I didn't meet nobody till like minimum 6 months ago, probably less than that. Garrett being on here is for real my first collab with somebody who wasn't just the three of us. So
Yeah, for sure. It took me a long time to get into contact with most people.
Man, the browser just loves crashing, bro. I had to stop using Chrome because I don't get it.
bro is washed. No way.
I was in the middle of reading this comment. He said he got a new job, wants to make content, but doesn't have time. I understand that. But he said he thinks that one. So, which side has some national basketball trials.
Yeah, he'd be cooking me if he's getting national basketball tryouts. I am not him to that level.
I'll give the smoke to whoever wants it, bro. Come on.
I get City of Prince Albert tryouts. That's about as good as I'm getting.
Gabe got irrational confidence. Like that's insane.
Baby, bro, you gotta fake it till you make it, bro. I'm there.
I'm retired. I ain't faking it for nothing.
Yeah, maybe like 3 years ago I would like still try. Now I'll just be like, nah, you got it.
I just started. I haven't even hit my prime yet, man. I just started.
I mean, duh, you're only like 19 years old, bro. You still got a long way to
Hey,
go.
whether it's content, basketball, lifting, don't matter. I've not hit my prime.
You got that right, Garrett. I'm definitely cooking Gabe, but I'm definitely not cooking.
Hell nah.
Garrett
Hell
definitely
no.
Gabe's basketball.
Hell no. He is not familiar with my game.
I'm definitely going on a U.S. tour at some point, and
Devin don't know about it, bro. That's crazy.
He said he's going on a U.S. tour.
He said he's going on a U.S. tour just to
2024 tour.
I'm just about to start 0-1, bro. That's crazy.
Man, it's just light work.
Can't believe it, bro. You're really about to do me like that. There's no way. I'm practicing every day just for that comment, bro. I'm about to be in freaking top peak physical condition.
This face of Reek is absolutely mid.
Double Reek! Double Reek!
It's too good. I don't know why it's not going away. This is just now it's gone.
What?
It
Just gonna keep pulling it back up. That was great.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was pulling it back up. I was gonna see if it was still there, but
This is 4 Point Weekly. We cloned Reek. That way, Reek's clone is gonna go to Lions practice, so that way Reek can make content every day.
Content full time, get monetized real quick. The city's going on the 2024 U.S. tour, man. You got to go hit Cali because John out there. Who else lives in California? Is it just John?
Yeah,
Just Sean
Steph
right
is
now,
from
yeah.
there, but Steph doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, he's in Florida and looks like it, or sounds like on his way to Texas in the near future.
Yeah,
So
at least he's going to
He's
San
a New Yorker. Reek versus Reek.
yeah.
Guessing colleges so we can go on.
Me and Reek really have been carrying Ohio content forever. What can I say?
Hey, man, you see it.
I was gonna say I'd be carrying Prince Albert content, but I know there's some kid that my sister goes to school with who has like over 1 million followers by being a typical 9-year-old. So clearly, I'm in the long run of business. So I need to go act like it. I need to go back in time and act like a stupid 9-year-old and make all my millions. So
Hey, man, you wasn't grinding hard enough back then.
apparently not. Apparently not.
Man, I should have grinded way more. Dude, as a kid, like I'm thinking, like there's so much shit I just could have done and got ahead on, and just, bruh, if I just started playing basketball in elementary school, started working out in middle school, like, bro, I don't even know what I'd be doing right now because that shit would just be all handled already.
I'll just be thinking about like, damn, should have started making content sooner. Should have started a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could have started making content earlier, but like, having a PC made it so much easier, and I didn't get that till a year ago.
That's
As far as like the stuff I do and that I enjoy with like the thumbnail game and all that kind of stuff, like having Photoshop and all that on PC just makes it 80,000 times easier.
For sure. Yeah, my biggest thing was like obviously the earlier the better, but I think it was about a year into COVID before I finally got started. It's like I could have got started a year earlier, that would have been so nice. But that first year I was just doing online classes and that was it.
I think that's always the thing when you start something. You're just like, damn, what if I started this like 6 months earlier or a year earlier or something? But the process is a process for a reason. So you probably started at the perfect time for real. Because who knows, it might have not worked out. You started it earlier. For real.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm still younger than like literally 90% of the people I make content with, so I can't be too mad.
No, I mean, that's when I started. You're ahead of the game compared to where I was at. That's for sure.
I think I dropped my first video when I was 20. So, yeah.
That's where I'm at now. Maybe one day I'll go beyond just making graphics, and I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I kind of want to get good at editing, just to see like make like a really tightly edited video with like graphics and stuff on the video. Like I think that'd be cool, but we'll see.
Those are high demand skills.
Yeah. Let me tell you, once I start getting a little bit more views and I get a little bit more money incoming, like that's the first investment. It's going to be having an editor. So that's always in demand. Because like I can edit my videos to a point, but I know someone who does it regularly can do it better. And I also know that's like 60% of the time of making my videos. So if all I got to do is script and record and make a thumbnail, man, just speeds up the whole process so much.
More motivated to make videos too.
Exactly.
Crank out like 3 scripts in like a week at that point because it's like I don't got to spend however many hours editing this video.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer these days, man. I got Garrett with the new banner, man. What can I say?
Yeah, that was a W banner. That was really sick.
I almost hit you up the other day, Gabe, because my friend started their podcast. I was about to hit you up, but I ended up making their channel art myself, or at least their logo. So I know I don't know if they was going to want to pay. Like my guy Gabe.
Yeah, see, I know Garrett, so I gave Garrett for the homie. But if it's somebody I don't know, hey, bro, I might need some $20 or something. I don't know, bro.
We starting at 20. That's fair.
Probably not. I'll probably do like less than that because I'm not no professional or nothing. But I'm not gonna lie, I would make somebody any graphic for $10.
My one guy Malik, I think he'd be doing like, I think he would give me like 2 thumbnails for like $20 or something like that, or like something like that, like low end stuff. To be honest, because I know some people probably charge way more. Real.
No, for sure.
For the quality that he was putting out, like most def.
I can usually get most things done in like an hour. So I mean, if I'm like $10 for an hour of my time or something that I think is fun and I enjoy doing and that I do for free most of the time right now, anyways, like I'll do it
for sure.
If you enjoy it, that's really a dub. For real.
Hey, listen, bro. If you guys that just started a podcast, if they need a thumbnail artist, bro, I'm right here.
Might have to let them know. I'll edit their videos, but I hate thumbnails so much. Oh my god.
I'll take thumbnails over editing any day, but maybe that's just because I spend like 6 or 7 hours editing my videos, and once I get 4 or 5 hours deep, it's just like,
bro,
it gets redundant.
I got around to your Rockets video. I know that took a long time to edit. Just throw it.
Yeah, that took a minute, and the Jazz one before it was even worse because that was 20.5 minutes. That one took so long. I was happy with the video length and the video performed well, so I was fine with it. But man, while I was editing, it was like, bro, I still have like 8 minutes left. This is wild.
So tiring.
But it's like, as long as the video does well, it's all good. But if I put out that long of a video and the video didn't do well, yeah, it's tragic.
The worst. That should almost make me quit YouTube the first time.
So valid.
Man, that's why I think like right now I just do all the collab stuff because I'm like, if the collab stuff gets big and then I just start making my own videos and I just plug it, like that's just an instant fan base. Whereas like right now, if I put a bunch of time into like some solo stuff and it just did not get views, I'm like, right now all the stuff I do, like our stuff pretty much consistently just gets views, so it's like whatever. And then KOT stuff, the YouTube videos are not getting views right now, but even still, I'm like, it's fun, and it's also only 1/9 my fault if something does not get views. So it's like we good.
Yeah, it does suck. Like when you feel like you made a banger video, and that motherfucker's a 9 out of 10. Or 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. It definitely sucks. It's more of a commonality in the early days because even though you might think you know what's a good video, you don't. So it's like, and that's when you need the validation more because you don't actually know what you're doing and you're still growing so much. So it's like that's when you get a couple 100-view video and that's so good. You're amazing. You're pumped, but then you get the 20-view video and it's like, the fuck's going on? Like, how did we go from 300 to 20?
Right.
Those would be the tough days of the early going.
Like last couple of months for YouTube has been very like, especially with like 3-Point Weekly, and then my channel's been very refreshing. Like, oh, I can actually get views on this fucking platform.
Dude, yeah, we've done consistently so good. It's like this off season, everything we dropped was just always very refreshing to just see. Oh, everything's going well. That's nice.
Even like, I think our Laker video got like 90 views or something like that. Before, our Laker videos were getting like 3 views, and it's probably us 3 viewing it. Like, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
Even that's like it's a small jump, but it's like, you know, we got 90 people watching the Laker video compared to what it used to be, which nobody watched the Laker videos.
No, it's definitely a W.
Dude, yeah, there was just the Warriors video that dropped today on KOT. Freaking flopped, bro. It's kind of sick.
Yeah, Warriors has been tough. I feel the last 8 to 12 months.
Didn't our Warriors video do bad too?
Yeah, it did. I feel like the Warriors are at a point now where there's still lots of people that make content about them, but there's not nearly as many people that care about them. And I haven't made a Warriors video on my main channel in like a year and a half. There's probably a reason for that. It's been a minute. Since 2021. December 1st, 2021. It was about Andrew Wiggins. It wasn't even about Golden State, but it was a long time ago.
Dude, shorts are just such free growth. I feel like if we drop shorts on here, we'd just get crazy growth because we get crazy growth on actual YouTube videos here. So
Yeah, no, it's
with
definitely
that,
Last July was the last Warriors. What's next?
that's definitely my plan when I can get some time. I want to make a bunch of TikToks. It'll be nice now. Well, at least I'm assuming once I'm done this project by the end of the month, and then I'll be in office every day, 8 to 5, home for weekends, and I can get back to being able to edit Monday to Friday. Make my schedule so much easier because right now it's like I can script Monday to Friday, but the editing time is limited. So once we get back to that, it's going to be nice.
for sure. We got a nice little cachet for the grand return. We definitely got a Cavs video and maybe a Raptors video out of today.
Yeah, probably a Dallas video to that too, to be honest.
Yeah. Plus the Harden video is still in the wings. Come on.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Plus, if we want to cut down the ranking videos just to have more content out there, I'm not even mad about that. Whether we do or we don't.
Yeah, a lot of that could probably be put in the different shorts and TikToks and whatnot. So there's definitely some things to be pulled there. But yeah, I feel you, Garrett. That's kind of where I've been at too, where I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that from my own channel. I've been trying to do a few things kind of for every video beforehand and seeing what little snippets of topics I can talk about, but it's kind of a channel by channel basis, especially for yours. Your channel is, I don't want to say unique, but different in a sense. So it'll definitely be different for TikTok content, but I'm sure there's an audience for it, especially like the IRL stuff. There's definitely especially if you make like just tailored 30 to 45-second clips, that's IRL stuff.
TikTok.
There's definitely some stuff to be made in there.
TikTok will eat that up, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta watch the blindfold basketball video, but I'm sure there's content from there that would be dope for like short.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I just find like the best like second clip from my videos of the film. And I just post it on a TikTok account that I got from my channel.
Yeah,
I usually pull in like 1,000 views or something.
Yeah, for sure. I was doing that for a bit, but with everything being highlights, like I could kind of do some weird editing with it, but I usually just find it easier to do it independently. Generally speaking, they do better. I had one that did nothing on TikTok, but the other two did really well, and on Instagram they all seem to do well. So Utah fans showed out at least, and then Houston fans hated on me getting mad at the Dylan Brooks signing once again. But for engagement, I'll take it.
Engagement, yep. Same thing. Engagement is a decent time, bro. I'm telling you, TikTok would eat that up.
Oh, for sure.
Let's go for a channel.
Bro said that's so much work, though. Bro, that's why I don't have a solo channel. That's so much work. I have a solo channel, just inactive, bro. I spent more time making new logos and banners for myself than I have making videos the past couple months. I've rebranded twice since I've uploaded my last video.
I don't know about y'all, but like, trying to find the motivation to record a video is just so taxing. Like yesterday, I was really sitting in this exact spot for like an hour, just trying to motivate myself to go record a 20-minute voiceover.
I feel that. That's how I was this weekend because I've got a Pacers script ready to go as of like Wednesday, Thursday last week. But I was just like, part of it was just too is like I knew if I recorded it, it's like, well, then I'm going to feel the need to edit it. Do I want to spend 6 or 7 hours editing this weekend? Probably not. So instead, I'll just keep working on more scripts. But
nah, bro, it's all vibes. It's all vibes. When I think of like if I want to record a video, it's like, is there anything I really want to talk about? Not really. Now that I haven't already talked about on 2 other platforms that I'm a part of.
Crazy because I've been looking forward to doing that Sir Thompson video for like 2-3 weeks. Like I've had it written down in my notes. Like next video, this is the one. Had all the film already chopped up in order, everything. I just didn't feel like recording it at all. Like it was just it took a lot for me to get up and actually record the video.
No, that's valid. It's valid. I wish I could mentally still be at a point where I'll just say like, oh, until I have something I want to talk about, I'll talk about it. And it's like nothing I'm talking about anything that I don't care about at all because I'm not at that point. But it's just like I'm too far down the line to just feel like I can not constantly be thinking about what the next videos are and what my next ideas are. I have lots to talk about. It's just actually getting it there. And my other problem is too, half of what I want to talk about right now is different deep dives that are going to take me, I don't want to know how many hundreds of hours to research and record and edit. And those are going to be journeys, but I got about 3 or 4 of them that slowly will be worked through. So that's part of it too.
And I know you feel this too. Like you said, you're too far along already. And like the traction that your videos be getting, it's just like you got to drop another one sometime soon because you're getting like 4K, 5K, 6K views and stuff. So it's just like, got to get another one out.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't concern myself with that as much as I used to anymore because I've just had enough times where I have had a long stint and I still come back and my videos do well. So I'm not as fussed about it, although there's probably an argument that they could be doing better if I was more consistent. But it's just wanting to continue to grow more with it anyways, because honestly, it's more about the growth than anything else at this point, because honestly, anything else from it is secondary at this point. I don't do it for the money at all. Like it's nice, but like it's not really something I think about at this point. It's just, do I enjoy it and I want to grow, and that's about it at this point.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's true. Sometimes the bread does keep me motivated. I'm like, do I want to lock in and make like 4 KOT thumbnails today? We can get to monetization in like 6 months. I'll do that.
That's valid. It was more of a motivator for me initially when I got monetized, but I don't know. It's just I'm not there right now. Maybe if I wasn't working right now, it'd be different. But
Yeah,
it's like I'm working and living at home, so my expenses are not significant right now, to say the least. So it's nice that way. But yeah, I feel like there's, at least for when I was doing it, there was definitely an extra incentive, especially when you feel like you're close to monetization. It's definitely a bit of an extra incentive to kind of keep going over the line. That's why I went so crazy that one summer or two ago. So it's just like I knew it was the time to do it. That was going to be the times. Like I got the watch hours, the views are in, the momentum's there. So I don't know when it's your time.
Gentlemen, I'm about tired as hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, I feel it for sure. I got to get up in like 5-6 hours. Actually, I don't got to be in the office that early tomorrow. So
Yeah, we can. I could definitely call it. I probably would have called it a while ago if I was on site tomorrow, but it's raining all day, so I'm chilling in my hotel room all day tomorrow. So
heard that.
When's my first class at tomorrow? I'm about to have some phenomenal news. 12:45 p.m.
Some great sleep coming in, man. Bro, them voiceovers be taking a minute, bro. My video was 10 minutes long, and I'll be editing for like 3 hours.
No, I feel that it'd be a journey sometimes, to say the least. But
So,
appreciate you tuning in again, Garrett, and we appreciate anyone else that's been here throughout. If you are still here, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, and be sure to subscribe down below. And be sure to let us know your thoughts on the top 10 shooting guards that we did talk about almost 3 hours ago now, but nonetheless, we did indeed talk about. So be sure to let us know your thoughts down below. We will get to our top 10 small forwards very soon. But until then, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.